getting exposed. You better stay on your toes. Repo, tilling the land, focus on the ego. Open my heart, let go of the ego. Ran out the grind, I'm stacking up these C-notes. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. Found out the hacks, put it underneath rap. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts,
and that's facts though. I talk factos. Ask J Babe, I go Astro. Floating focused on my cash flow. We plant star seeds to make the grass grow. I'm a refloater, I do what I wanna. Stacking the winter, sunbathing the summer. My chakras are and I shock them like Blanco. Only Pope we acknowledge a nigga is Pablo.
At these events, I'm a god to my people. Got out the streets, yeah, we dodging a Rico. Game of roulette, I'm a casino. The game wasn't fair, yeah, the odds wasn't equal. Squad got the Chico, my squad got the Chico. Game in a drought, yeah, they starving the people. Blaming and doubt, make it harder to eat, yo. Not a placebo, that's not a placebo.
The food, the art, the clothes. We put this show on the road. The Vatican getting exposed. You better stay on your toes. Repo, tilling the land, focus on the ego. Open my heart, let go of the ego. Ran out the grind, I'm stacking up these C-notes. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. Found out the hacks, put it underneath rap. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts.
Started in Richmond, art in my district. Heart of the mystics, started for biscuits. Father to Isfits, martyr to misfits. God is my witness, God on my hit list. Moving the weight, we started with fitness. Moving with states, we art of the richest. Give me the blues, my heart is in Memphis. It's part of adventure, started my venture. The F is for food, the A is for art. The C is for clothes, I'm playing my part. T is for tech, I'm playing it smart. S is for shelter, I stay in the park. Acres on acres, get lost in the dark. We playing a part, we playing it smart. Facts, facts,
okay.
Yeah.
The food, the art, the clothes. We put this show on the road. The Vatican getting exposed. You better stay on your toes. Repo, tilling the land, focus on the ego. Open my heart, let go of the ego. Ran out the grind, I'm stacking up these C-notes. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. Found out the hacks, put it underneath rap. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts.
It's a movie, a movie.
Boom. Boom, shakalaka laka. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that right there was the Facts Anthem featuring myself, good brother Sir Bay, good brother Sauce Guard, and of course, the one and only Pope Pablo. All right, peace, love, and light. All right, welcome to another episode of Melanin Mondays. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pill. Let me know how the audio is going. Is everything clear on the audio? Can y'all hear me? Let me turn this background shit off because I'm not feeling this right now. The virtual background. You're gonna have to. Yeah, let me just get my regular background. You know what I mean? We good? Okay. Peace, love, and light to the family. Peace to you and yours, Brother Red Pill, reporting live and direct. Yes, indeed. Like you just heard, this is episode 215 of Melanin Mondays. All right. We are in the building. We are here. I'm very pleased to be here with y'all. We had a favorable hour, right? I didn't do this shit at midnight. I was going to get on earlier, but my brother KT, the arts degree, he had a show that I was tuned into. And I was, I needed to catch that information. When y'all get the opportunity, go and watch brother KT, the arts degree, his last episode he just did today with a brother that goes by the name of Prince Michaels, and it's The Curse of Black Panther. and he lays down some. His special guest laid out some facts. He laid out some facts about why they don't fuck with that movie. You know what I'm saying? And how Disney and don't take it personal, like it's black people against black people, because you niggas don't own Black Panther. He's talking about Disney and Marvel. You know what I'm talking about? Talking about Disney and Marvel. The same people that Ye and a whole bunch of people are complaining about. These, you know who I'm talking about? Those people with smoke. Yeah, he has a problem with them. So let's do the roll call. Shout out to everybody in the building. Peace to everybody in the building. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this roll call popping. All right. So we see who's in the building tonight. Okay, tonight. All right. So of course we got Los Angeles in the building. Shout out to LA. Shout out to the West Side. Shout out to NC in the building. Maritza, are you coming to our lecture in North Carolina? You gonna be there for us? You pulling up? You know what I'm talking about? I'll show you the flyer in a minute. St. Croix in the building. Yes. Shout out to the Mondem in St. Croix, St. John's, St. Thomas, West Los Angeles, Phoenix, Dade County, East Columbus, Roxbury, Boston, Brick City, Boston, Tucson, Arizona, Texas in the building, Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas in the building, Connecticut. Oh, no. Betty's Ford, CLT in the building, Jersey in the building. You know what I'm talking about? SC in the building. Yeah. Rocky Mount in the building. Where's Rocky Mount? That's North Carolina, right? Or is that South? Shout out to everybody in the Carolinas. I hope to see y'all very, very soon. I will be out there with my team, with the gang and whatnot, but we won't be on gang activity. We're gonna be coming to teach the people and drop the information that the people need. Facts Friday, we pulling up to NC, Charlotte to be exact. Friday, November the 25th. I'm talking about Red Pill, Blue Pill, Serve Bay, and Source Guard. Yes, and we will be performing the Facts Anthem. We will be turning that bitch up, and we will have merch on deck, and we will be teaching about the food, the art, the clothes, the tech, and the shelter. You know what I'm talking about? So spread that shit like a rumor. Y'all like spreading rumors and spill it like it's tea, my niggas. You know what I mean? Spill it like it's tea. Okay. All right. NC, is that near Charlotte? Where you at? Is that near? Merritt, Florida. Seattle in the building. Shout out to Seattle. Atlanta in the building. Shout out to the A. Detroit. If you in Atlanta and you ain't walked through the doors of the lounge, I'm not really talking to you right now until proven differently. You know what I'm talking about? Y'all be wildin'. Shout out to East Orange, Jersey, Tennessee, San Fran. You know what I'm talking about? 704. Greensboro was really good. What up, though? Detroit in the building. What up, though? 7 Mile in this bitch. Okay. When we coming to Virginia Beach? I'm not sure, but I was in Virginia Beach real heavy in 2018. I was up and down them shorelines. So we'll be coming back out there real soon. Miami in the building. You 2 hours away? Oh, shit. Well, I know I'm going to see you in that building, Queen on set, because you come all the way to Atlanta when we do events. You've been on the mountain twice with us. So I already know that you'll be out there. I don't even got to double check with you. You know what I'm saying? Chi-Town. Shout out to Chi-Town. IMB, what up? Was really good with you, bro. Tiff, what's good? What's good? Yes, Tallahassee. Fam, you in this thing. You feel me? Where's the lounge? I'll check it out this weekend. Okay, no doubt. Just make sure you come the day that we there. You dig? I'm not there. I'm not there every day. You know what I'm saying? The Royal Chamber is 49 Bennett Street. 49 Bennett Street. That's right in Buckhead. The Royal Chamber's on the second floor. You feels me? So pull up and enjoy yourself. Shout out to everybody that came out to the tribute to the ancestors that we did. We did a party on Saturday. We was dressed up. I was the Grim Reaper. But I flipped it. I switched it up. I was the Grim Reaper. Then I was like, I don't want to walk around like the Grim Reaper. So I had my bucket hat on, and I was just a wizard. I had my wizard shit on. I wore my little wizard frock. I had it on in my lecture yesterday. Shout out to every single person. Let me talk about it now. After the roll call, we'll talk about it. Tennessee in the building. All right. Rockingham in the building. Jersey in the building. That's right. Vancouver. That's right. That's right. 1 month without the Addies. You're a legend. PG in this bag. It was really good. PG County. Toronto. So yeah, everybody is here. We deep. You know what I'm talking about? We in the building. What a motherfucking time to be alive. You know, all of the fam is here. We are gonna be chopping up some game tonight. We're gonna go over some things that were covered yesterday in the monument. I would say that this is monumental because I think this is the most people that I had in a lecture for the year of 2022. Clap it up. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. And people are still getting tickets to this day. To this day. So, you know, I'm pleased with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely honored that that we you know, that people have tapped in and they felt the need to be in class with us, me and Blue, you know, and it was short notice, right? It was definitely short notice. This is something that I put together and gave myself 7 days, but I was determined, you know, and I promised myself that I was going to sacrifice the BS, you know, not the BS, but the distractions. Feel me? I was like, I'm not going to let no distractions take me off of my studying. I'm not going to let no distractions take me away from, you know, digging in and doing my research, because I want to deliver some information. Because if I don't deliver information, I'm going to be, I don't know. Everybody is different, but the way I'm built, the way that my body is designed, I can't hold too much in. You know, to be honest with you, I'm not surprised that I don't go live every fucking night. You know what I mean? Like, I be having a lot to talk about, but I'm reserved. The older that I get, or the wiser, you know, the more rotations around the sun, it seems that the wiser and the more patient I become. So I don't want to talk to the YouTube. I don't want to speak into a camera that much, but understand that individuals such as myself, because I retain so much information, I need an outlet to get the information out. Because if I don't have an outlet, I might start talking to myself. I might start spazzing out. You know what I mean? The information might turn into anger, you know, reverse alchemy. Whereas if you get the information out and you're able to connect the dots, and you know inherently that you're helping to assist somebody in their in the edification of the information, or you're assisting somebody to help them with their narrative, that's a great feeling. You know what I mean? Like, shit, that is a therapeutic feeling. It's almost like I'm in therapy when I'm teaching and whatnot. You feel me? Like, I suggest that there's anybody that's out there listening to me, please don't take what I'm saying to be pretentious or like I'm popping my collar. I'm saying this because I'm even hoping that you might pick up on what I'm saying if you're going through some type of issues where, you know, you are dealing with, you know, you don't have nobody to really chop it up to. People are not trying to hear you, you know, inside of your household. They want to quiet you. They want to censor you, you know, at your workspace. You can't really speak like that because you work around a lot of people who are like Agent Smith in the Matrix. They will turn you in, you know what I mean? They will snitch on you. Find your way to social media and find an outlet to where you could either speak to the people or you could listen to somebody who speaks your language. So I know for the people that show up on Melanin Mondays and Third Eye Thursdays, as much as I don't be wanting to do that shit sometimes, because there's definitely nights where I'm just like, nah, I don't even want to, you know, I might be laying with my son. I might put my son to sleep and fall asleep with him. Or I might be, you know, laid up with the missus. Or I might be at the lounge. I might be doing something. I'm like, I don't know if I got the energy to get in front of this camera and give these 2 or 3 hours of my energy, you know, to the world and whatnot. But I push through that shit because at the end of the day, people be depending on these shows the same way that I depend on Black Magic 363 to come on and to give us a show. I depend on Urban X to give us a show. You feel me? Sometimes I depend on Tariq Nasheed to be on every Sunday. So it's like I'm dependent on outlets to feed me the information that I be needing because I need to know where people's minds are at. I want to hear what people's perspectives are. You feel me? And I want to learn because I'm a student in class learning every day. I will never admit to not learning. You know what I mean? I will never admit to that. Like I'm gonna learn until I burn. You know what I mean? I will learn until my last day. I'm gonna be a committed student of life. You know what I mean? A wise man knows that he knows nothing. I don't know a damn thing. I don't know anything. That's why I'm even gonna shy away from the title of master teacher. I don't know if I've proven that. I'm a master student at the end of the day. And don't cry for me, Argentina. It's okay. Don't worry about that. People will be like, no, you're a master teacher. No, I'm not. You know, no, I'm not. I'm a master student and I'm a forever, thank you, MJ Eek. I'm a forever student. You feel me? I'm a forever student. And by me doing that, the expectations, and it's not about me running away from expectation. It's just that, you know, I know how far, you know, I know that I just started on this road. You know what I'm saying? You know, a person could identify as being a master teacher when they feel like that they're coming to the end of their road. I just started on this highway of success, or this highway to heaven for that matter. You know, I'm not this road to perdition. I'm nowhere near my exit, you know. So I'm gonna enjoy the ride while it's here. I take joy in watching the new teachers pop out. I take joy in watching the new class of teachers and whatnot, and the young scholars who are out there doing it their own way. You know what I mean? They're not trying to be like nobody. They out there putting on and doing it the way that they see fit. Like all of the young brothers and sisters on TikTok that are feeding the people powerful information in 1 minute. Yeah, they you know, kudos to them. I don't even know or there's so many new names. I can't keep up. But there's an explosion of light. I won't even call it information at the end of the day because it's not just information. It's not just a voiceover video. There's people's persona. They're shining their light. You know what I mean? They know how to work the information. You know, some people could be, you know what I mean? It's a package deal. It's not just information. It's, you know, you could see the ancestors working through certain people. You could tell that certain people are very serious about their spiritual transformation because they're really changing before your very eyes and whatnot. Keep in mind, it's the Scorpio season, and we're in a what you call it, a retrograde. Keep your head on swivel leading up to January. This shit just started. Leading up to January, please keep your head on swivel. This is not your regular retrograde. This retrograde inside of Scorpio could get your snot box rocked. It could get your motherfucking wig pushed back. Do not be out here arguing with niggas. Don't be engaging in back and forths with people. Don't fall into that trap. You know what I mean? Do not fall into that trap. Don't be back and forthing with people. Don't get into no online spats. You know how people is mad emotional about the situations with, you know, the yays of the world, and everybody has an opinion now, and a lot of niggas is buck dancing and cooning and whatnot, and they dancing for master. Yeah, my advice to you in situations like that, even though I know it abhors, you know, it's disgusting, you know, to watch, you know what I'm saying? It's despicable, you know what I'm talking about? I would turn the other cheek, you know what I mean? Pause. And I wouldn't even pay shit. Like I would just I would write down these niggas' names, take a note. Okay, you're excommunicated. Okay, duly noted that you niggas is out here doing the butter biscuit dance, but I won't be confrontational. Okay, I will not be confrontational. I will keep it moving, and I will focus. Yeah, even driving, road rage, speeding. You know, I'm not trying to put nobody in no state of fear. I'm just saying that this retrograde that we in right now, it just started, and we're in the month of Scorpio. We're in the sign of Scorpio. Tread lightly, because the energy is very it's very static like. You know what I'm talking about? It's very static. Like a motherfucker will pop off on either you or around you like this. So you don't want to be in the middle of none of the fuckery and whatnot. You know? You don't want to be in none of the fuckery. If anything has taught you in the last month, because I did point out that Kanye, he completely controlled the month of October. You know what I'm saying? He controlled the timeline. He controlled the fucking airwaves. Like, he's been in a lot of people going to sleep thinking about what this man is saying and what he's not saying. So what I walked away, you know, because tomorrow is the beginning of November. I'm like, look, I'm not going to let this shit dominate my November, even though I know that something else is coming in November, the same way that something came in September, the same way that something came in October. Remember, we're in adjacent months: July, August, September, October, November. So November is the N in Jason. It's the last letter in Jason. So this bitch is going to close with a bang. Two things that you don't do in adjacent months, right? You don't practice, you don't fuck with the Halloween, because that's their holy day. And you don't fuck with the Columbus Day, because these holy days or these hell days or these Roman holidays are tied directly into their rituals, tied into their contract. The more that you celebrate it, the more energy or power you are giving this illusion and keeping it alive. I was outside today and I was like, yo, these little niggas don't even do Halloween no more. Remember when we was coming up? Frozen eggs, rotten eggs. We throwing paint at you. You know what I'm talking about? We throwing frozen eggs through your window, nigga. We were wilding. And when I was young, we was going to the stores and running out the stores 100 deep with Jason and Chucky mask on. These little niggas are not in that type of time. They're not on that type of time right now. You got little children that just want their bag of candy and whatnot. Then they going home and either gonna sell the candy on eBay, they're gonna divvy it up with their mama. I don't know what they're doing, but they not. My doorbell didn't ring all night. Isn't today supposed to be what they call Halloween or All Hallows Eve? My doorbell didn't ring all fucking weekend. Either they know that we vegan, and they just like, we not gonna waste our time with these niggas over here. But I was inside the stores today. I didn't see no rugrats running in there asking for candy. You know what I'm talking about? I was in and out of stores. I didn't see no of these little niggas running around dressed up like Jeffrey Dahmer, asking me for no candy, asking the store owners for no candy. In the streets as we driving, I'm looking out the window. I'm not seeing nobody really dressed up like that. So I'm like, shit, niggas is not giving this shit no energy. Kudos. You feel me? Kudos. As the veils become thinner and thinner, right? As the quote unquote, this is, you know, people would think that this is some simple shit in the observation that I'm making. They like, what that got to do with anything? No, that has to lot. That's profound observation. You learn by observing. You learn by paying attention to your environment. I'm able to measure things because I've been out here for a long time. I have experience. I've been outside for longer than some people been alive. So I have a level of measurement. I'm like, nah, my nigga, in the 90s, this is how they was doing it. And this is how they doing it right now. Either the video games is just super lit, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going on in video game land, but these niggas don't come outside. They come outside and shoot hoops around my way, a little bit of basketball, but then they be in the house most of the time. You know what I'm talking about? They either on a phone, I don't know what they doing in the house. But they was not ringing my doorbell for no fucking candy. And that is a beautiful thing because the more we take back our power, right? You know, when they say call your power back to you, and that's really what this season is about too. That's another thing dealing with the Scorpio season that we're in, especially because we have a solar eclipse on the 8th, right? We have a solar eclipse on the 8th. I got y'all set up last week when there was the lunar eclipse, right? I ran down everything, right? And on the 8th, there's going to be a solar eclipse in Scorpio, right? It's going to be crazy. So the best thing that I see taking place is more people are focusing on the real shit, like the eclipses, and they not giving their energy to these defunct, funky ass, you know, holidays and whatnot that you don't get no power from. You know, the candy store gets rich, Dollar General and whatnot, they get all of your money, but niggas is not getting, we not coming up off of that shit. So why are we giving it our energy? So like I was saying before, the way that the Jason months are set up, they have us worshiping these deities and, you know, paying homage to holidays that are in perfect alignment with star alignments and things of that nature, right? So while they're doing their sacrifices or they're worshiping the higher principle, they got us out here worshiping the low principle, Thanksgiving, right? Where motherfuckers come together, who everybody from January up until that day in November, right? Everybody was like, nah, I'm not from Africa, I'm indigenous. You know what I'm saying? Rod Hayes, Dane Calloway, you know what I mean? I'm just here to make you think. You know, everybody's getting their feathers and you know, niggas is on their feather shit, right? But niggas conveniently are showing up for Thanksgiving, you know what I'm saying? With the auntie with the 2 elbows and whatnot, because you just want to taste her stuff and the way that she whips that motherfucking that banana pudding together, right? But not realizing that you're still giving this quote unquote Holocaust, because it is a celebration of a Holocaust. You're giving it, you're still co-signing it. You're still giving it your energy. You know what I mean? You still showing up. You feel me? You ever heard somebody say the party don't start until I show up? What does that mean? What that means is when you understand who you are in the whole scheme of things, and this is your movie, nigga, you're the director, you the star, and you wrote the script. So if you don't show up somewhere, the movie doesn't, wherever you go, the cameras go. Wherever you go, the audience is going with you. So by you just showing up, you're gonna give you giving energy and you're giving light to certain situations. And I'm not telling y'all to stay away from your family on Family Day. I'm not saying that. I took I went ahead and I turned Thanksgiving into Thanksgiving, right? I went ahead and I turned Thanksgiving into Thanksgiving. I'm like, nah, ain't no Thanksgiving what? You know what I mean? I'm not with that storyline. You know, I know what that's about. Nah, we doing Thanksgiving. We're going to eat live, living food, and we're going to pay homage to the ancestors. Look what they did with Columbus Day. They flipped it to what? Indigenous Day. Even though everybody's not following the Indigenous Day, but I didn't hear people running around proudly saying Happy Columbus Day. Motherfuckers is on they on notice. They like, nah, they don't want to look that crazy. My timeline I didn't see one Happy Columbus Day on Columbus Day. You know what I mean? But I saw a whole lot of Happy Indigenous Days. So you can't celebrate Happy Indigenous Day and then run down on Thanksgiving when the narrative of Thanksgiving is the Pilgrims they celebrated because because niggas gave them some corn and whatnot. No, nigga, they gave the people who gave them corn, they gave them blankets with smallpox in it. They gave them syphilis, gonorrhea. They hoodwinked them and bamboozled them for this rich land called America. They stole their children from them. They gave them fucking alcohol and turned them into drunkards. You know what I mean? That's what they did to these ancestors on this land. You know what I mean? They were pocket watching and they seen our ancestors pulling up drippy with all of the gold on and whatnot. Niggas was shining for real. And they got jealous and they started running down and robbing our people and whatnot. And then you had the gold rush in Georgia, North Georgia, Blue Ridge Mountains. Go and look it up. The first gold rush in America, in Georgia. And then it went to the West. You feel me? And then it went to the West. Broke every treaty, poisoned our drinks, raped the children, put them in their funky ass schools and whatnot. Completely desecrated history, flipped everything around to whereas we know that they were the slaves at one point. They were the Slavs. They were the indentured servants. They were the chimney cleaners. You know what I mean? And we know that they stole a lot of things from us. They stole shit. They're thieves of the highest order. So my attitude these days, as I walk through the valley of death, I fear no man, and I'm you know, my energy towards them, you know, and if you know who them are, I'm not fucking with them. This is my new mandate. This is my new proclamation moving forward, because people it comes a time where the line must be drawn. There comes a time when the line must be drawn, and you have to put your motherfucking foot down. This is where I stand. If you of another race, first and foremost, and if you don't bring any type of truth, I'm talking about you got to give me the truth every time I see you. Because I don't ever want nobody to think that these people that don't look like us don't be knowing our truth and they be hiding it from us. Yeah, they destroyed our culture. They destroyed the culture, right? They destroyed the buffaloes. These niggas destroyed the ecosystem to this day, right? And all around the world, they destroying the ecosystem. They putting the aluminum in the air, fucking up the ozone layer. They don't have no Alaskan crabs in the sea right now. They created complete kill zones in the ocean. How, Sway? They got the tankers leaking oil. They're leaking shit on purpose. The president that just got defeated in Brazil, Bolsonaro, he needs to be brought up on human rights crime. They need to fry that man. Do you know what he did to the Amazon? He destroyed, I'm talking about, he completely pillaged the Amazon. I believe that he was behind the fires that burnt the Amazon down. They were killing the indigenous populations inside of the Amazon. People don't even know how big the Amazon is. I don't think people have the context. They don't have the context, especially when we be living in these little ass cities and whatnot. We don't be having context to how big shit is outside of the motherfucking city. The concrete jungle. You know what I mean? What is known as the Matrix. It's not nature. We're living in a false reality. I'm in Georgia, right? I'm of the understanding that I live on top of like a mountain, right? Because when I'm driving, I'm like, damn, I'm going up a mountain. It's like, you know, it's like Stone Mountain, right? You know how when you ascend a mountain, it's like an upward lateral. Well, in places like Georgia, where I'm at, when you driving, you feel yourself going up a mountain. But this is what I know. I know that this asphalt and this concrete is covering up old villages and old civilization. I know that they poured concrete all over this bitch and they covered up a whole lot of shit, right? They covered up a whole lot of shit. That's what I know, right? I know that beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay. I'm gonna show you something. I'm gonna show you something real quick, right? And that's not just where I'm at. I could show you clips on my channel where they showed Ohio was once a mound city and is completely covered up by these people who came around, what Ross Ben calls the mound gritters, right? The mound gritters, right? They destroyed the mounds and whatnot and covered it up. So underneath underneath these cities and whatnot, underneath that concrete, you know, are graveyards, right? So this article came out conveniently on the 29th, right? On Saturday. This article came out on Saturday, right? Washington Square Park is right there in the village, right? The village is in Manhattan, New York City, right? Washington Square Park. This is where NYU students like to frolic, but this is also where the Chichiman or people who deal with anti-life, they also like to frolic too, right? What the Mandem call zombies, right? So in the movie, if you remember the movie, right? Because they still talk to you in the movies and whatnot, you know, even though they do hide a lot of the truth, you know, they put a little bit of the truth in the movies. So who remembers the movie I Am Legend? The Mississippi River is drying up. Why do you think? This is going back to what I'm showing you right now. The bones of our ancestors are beginning to cry, right? The fact that our people are buried underneath these cities and whatnot. They're buried underneath their lies. Their lies are beginning to surface. The veil is beginning to lift. Our people are beginning to wake up. And as the people on the surface wake up, then the people in the underworld wake up. Our ancestors wake up. Everybody is waking up because this planet is going through a motherfucking awakening. If you can't feel it, then I don't know. I can't feel for you. You know what I'm saying? My hands is off of that. I can't necessarily feel for people. But if you can't feel it, then you should be, you know, my suggestion to you is to get a little bit more centered and get back into your feels, not your emotional unstableness feelings, but your feelings where you're centered and you can hear things and you can feel things and you can see things. You can't do that if you're distracted. You can't do that if you're emotionally unstable. You can't do that if you're mentally and spiritually unstable. You got to unplug from whatever's distracting you, whatever's drawing your energy, whether it's a nigga, a man, a woman, whether it's your job, whether it's your fucking phone, whether it's the TV, whatever it is, you got to remove yourself, call your power back, and start working on restoring your faculties. Because you can't walk around this bitch moving forward with your head on swivel. Bro, demons is popping out. Nigga, the animals is on demon time. Nigga, the deers and the raccoons is on demon time. You got to be careful in these streets. So, the movie I Am Legend. Who remembers I Am Legend? Right? I Am Legend, he was living in a house, the house that Will Smith was living in, where he had a lab, right? Remember, he had a lab, and the lab had the zombies in it, right? Remember, I believe that was the lab where the whole zombie shit started. Or I don't remember the movie particularly. Either it started at the house or he brought them into the house and he had the lab where he was trying to find the serum in order to cure, right, the zombies. That lab is in Washington. That house is in Washington Square Park. Anybody from New York automatically could tell when they saw the movie, yeah, this nigga's in Washington Square Park. He's right there. I Am Legend, right? He, in the movie, he literally is living right across the street from that arc, this picture that I'm showing you right here in Washington Square Park. Literally. Right? It was in his house. Right. Literally. He's right there in the same place where the zombies, right? The same place where the dead are buried right there underneath everybody's feet. Okay? And the village is known for anti-life. That's what the village is known for. That's where that Stonewall, that's where the LBGT shit rose up out of. And they be in that park mad deep, bro. They be in that park mad deep. Dealing with all things anti-life. So it is of no coincidence that the foundation of some of these places, right? Because these people are extremely dishonest and just disingenuous. They'll never give you the truth. It always have to uncover itself. I didn't see this shit in the PBS documentary. They didn't teach me this in school. This is not something that they just voluntarily teaching people in New York and whatnot. I should know if I'm in a fucking graveyard. Yeah, Seneca Park. It's the same thing as Central Park, Seneca Village and whatnot. They're gonna show you articles where this is not even a cemetery, fam. 20,000 dead bodies. This is more than just a cemetery. These are mass graves. These are mass graves. You understand? These are mass graves. You don't even know who the fuck is under there. But the slave burials are in the same area. Remember, whoever's from this New York on the call, right there where the federal building is, right there where Manhattan Criminal Court is, 100 Center Street, right in that area. When you come off of the Brooklyn Bridge, all of that is sacred grounds for the African burial site. Okay. All of that is the sacred African burial site. So these people or these land surveyors and why the fuck are they building up whole societies on top of bodies and whatnot? That shit don't even make sense, bro. The East Village was a black village, right? So you could understand these places that were originally heavily melanated, right? Who those dead bodies are, right? Then once those places become gentrified, right? The energy that they begin to draw to those areas, because, if you're dealing with people who are unceremoniously, buried and whatnot, because they're not inside of coffins. They didn't dig up coffins. They did not dig up coffins. And based off of, they was burying us in sarcophaguses all the way back in the days. When I used to watch the Westerns with John Wayne, they was putting niggas in pine boxes with 2 fucking quarters on your eyes and whatnot. You feel me? So as long as man has been, practicing the rites of burial, they've been putting us in boxes. No, these are bodies. They was not ceremoniously buried. These are mass graves. They're digging up bones. They're not digging up coffins and boxes. They're digging up bones and fragments. 20,000. It's a lot of people, That's a lot of people. So when I'm in Georgia, you know what I mean? And I'm in places like Piedmont Park, where anywhere where there's anti-life, now I'm gonna be very cautious. And I'm gonna just be like, yo, I'm gonna have to do the research, because spirit be telling me there's something going on underneath your feet in these areas, just based off of the energy. Some of the places where our people are committing murder at high levels, murder capitals, right? Like Blue Pill had pointed out, there was a documentary that he told me to go see on Netflix called Descendants. I'm a descendant. Who saw that? Is there anybody in the chat room who saw the documentary Descendant? And Descendant was talking about the descendants of the slaves in, I believe it was Mobile, Alabama, right? I believe it was in Mobile, Alabama, right? Before I continue, right? Just the simple fact that there's a subway system in New York City, it shows you that they poured concrete and they built on top of something that was originally there, right? So the original land where New York is standing on is here. And this is where the actual sidewalks and, this is where the shit is at this point, right? So the original land, whatever that looks like and whatever that feels like, you can't even touch that shit, because this is New York. This is the sidewalk. Then they have the subway. Then the subway goes down mad different levels, right? So the shit is elevated. We're standing on concrete that's highly elevated from the original land. But anyway, yeah, they built over New York. They built over New York. And the same thing happened in Atlanta. When Sherman burned down Atlanta, they built over Atlanta. I think Sherman came up in this bitch and burnt down an indigenous community, right? Sherman burnt down whoever was living on Stone Mountain, whatever tribes was on Crystal Mountain. And that's who General Sherman came through and burnt the fuck down. Because y'all buy into that Civil War shit all you want. To me, the Civil War was the East, the North and the South riding on our people, on them confederacies, on the real confederacies, and coming together and knocking them off, and using the pretense of war to clip our people by just having them in the middle. Do you know there's stories where they would just be, they would be riding through and shit, and then they would start popping off on each other, but they conveniently were inside of an Indian village when they was doing all of that, and niggas was getting friendly fire. Yes, Ghostbuster 2 was talking about the dead under New York. Yes, it definitely was. Thank you for bringing that up. I gotta go rewatch that. You know what I'm saying? We gotta watch these movies with our new eyes and whatnot. Yes, sex trafficking through the tunnels and whatnot. There's catacombs under DC. You feel me? There's a lot of shit. There's catacombs under the Vatican. There's catacombs in France. There's catacombs in DC. There's these underworlds that we have no idea about. You know what I'm talking about? That are accessible through elevators, shafts, and all kind of other things. You feel me? I could feel it. Right? So I'm going on record to say when they burnt down Atlanta, when Sherman came and burnt down Atlanta, he didn't burn down no cracker shit. He didn't burn down no white people's plantations, because the plantations are still up. What is you talking about? You could go on plantation tours in Atlanta. He burnt down indigenous communities. He burnt down our people. You never saw no pictures of the Northern or the Union soldiers with Indians in headdresses as their allies. I've never seen no shit like that. I never seen that. You know what I'm talking about? The Indians were still on the land in 1863 and 62 and 64. Why? I never see a picture with a Union soldier standing next to an indigenous Indian. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure that they had to be at peace with them. They wasn't at war with them. So where's the photographs of that? No, they was riding on our people during that time. That war was knocking our people down. You know? You said everybody dressed up in New York. Well, New York is Gotham City. You know what I'm talking about? Like that's a whole nother conversation. Like New York is, they on the whole city on demon time. The whole city on demon time. So that's not surprising. That's not surprising. The Georgia forests are haunted. Hell motherfucking yeah, bro. Hell yeah. You do shrooms and go in the forests of Georgia, you're gonna come out with more white hair than Frederick Douglass. That shit is a very taunting. I remember camping out. We went to Sassafras Mountains, which is between Tennessee, the Carolinas, and Georgia. It is one of the most beautiful, serene sights that I've beheld, standing on top of the mountain, and I saw 3 states. But boy, oh boy, let me tell you, when I popped that motherfucker, them shrooms, I think I was on 3 grams, and a nigga went into the forest. Oh my goodness. It wasn't for me, bro. I came back up in that crib and I locked the door. I was like, nah, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm super good. You know? Civil War was the last 4 years of the 100-year Geechee Wars. You see me? You feel me? You know? They had to close the old Yankee Stadium, and now the new one is starting to show signs of sinking. You know? Out here in Georgia, these motherfuckers buy up the swampland and they build these cul-de-sacs on top of the swamp and whatnot. You know what I mean? They build the cul-de-sacs right on top of the swamps. You know, this shit is not even solid land like that. They building on top of the swamps, my nigga. You know what I mean? They've done that in Florida, you know, all kind of shit. Yeah, prohibition tunnels. But before the prohibition came around, there were those tunnels already existed. You feel me? So back to what I was saying about the documentary that I was watching on Netflix called Descendants. It's about the slave ship called Clotilla, right? The last slave ships that they allegedly found. Because I promise you, and I shit you not, I watched a whole documentary about a fucking slave ship and I didn't even see the slave ship. They don't even show you the slave ship. They show a diver coming up with 2 pieces of wood, my nigga. And then they gave you a rendition of what the slave ship might have looked like. I'm like, Astaghfirullah, I need my hour and a half back, nigga. Fuck is this? Like, give me the ship, nigga. Pull the ship up. These motherfuckers have pulled many ships up from underneath the water, and it's not the ocean. They're not in the ocean. They're in right there in Alabama. It's not fucking that deep. The motherfucking ship is not that deep. It's not like it's in the middle of the ocean. I've seen them pull sunken pirate ships from the ocean up. So I'm like, why you niggas ain't pulling this shit up? You how you gonna shoot a documentary about you finding a ship and you niggas never showed us the ship? You just want us to believe that you found a ship. Nah, I ain't going for that. Show the motherfucking ship. And this is what caught me and threw me off. And this is something that we have to examine that has shown itself to be true in all of the places where our people are suffering, right? Boom. So the Europeans that own the slaves, right? They are one of the biggest landowners in Mobile, right? They done bought up everything with all of that slave money because what had happened was, right, with the story that they are selling us in that documentary was that the 2 Europeans made a bet, right? Because after they outlawed the importation of Africans, they basically made it an illegal to bring shiploads of cargo of human bodies into the Americas, and the penalty was punishable by death, right? Allegedly, 1805. So I think it was like 1825, maybe 1860. I'm not too sure about the dates. I might have been off. One European said to another group of Europeans, I make a bet that I could bring some niggas up in Alabama. We could sneak them in. So they went and snuck them in. So based off of the fact that they were able to sneak a lot of bodies in and whatnot, the amount of money that they were able to get for this stolen cargo, right, it's almost akin to if a nigga slid into Miami with 30 birds, right? of that dog food, nigga. I ain't talking about that white girl. I ain't talking about Christina Aguilera. If a nigga snuck in with 30 birds of that Alpo, right? Of that Alpo, right? He gonna make a lot of money flipping them birds, right? He got the scorpion stamp on it. When he sells those birds, his profits and his proceeds, he don't got to split it with anybody because he snuck the birds in. They were illegal. That's the same thing that they were doing with our people and whatnot. They were looking at them like they were birds and they were flipping their bodies and whatnot, right? Oh, Dane Calloway went looking for it. And drop that link. I got to see that, yo. Drop that link. I got to see what the fuck took place in that. So anyway, so it made these smugglers, right? The same way that you got drug smugglers, you had slave smugglers, right? So it made the smugglers very wealthy. So they were able to play Monopoly in wherever they lived at and whatnot, and they start buying up all the land. So the motherfuckers own all of the land around Africa Town, right? Where the descendants of these African slaves live and whatnot. So this is how they do our people. They own the land, right? They basically showed how they red zone Africa Town, put a highway through that bitch, right? Fucked it up, through a highway, a big ass highway too. Through a highway through that bitch, like they threw highways through all of our black towns and whatnot. Then the European went and sold the land to a paper mill company. All of these chemical plants. I'm talking about they got these motherfuckers completely boxed in with chemical plants all around them. All around them, right? And everybody got cancer. Right? All of that, even with our Henrietta Lacks type of genes and whatnot, we are very resistant to the fuckery. The people started falling under, you know what I mean? This people started developing all of these cancerous, right? To the point where you used to live in Mobile. All right, tell me this. They call it Plateau and they call it Magazine Village, I think, and Plateau. Is that a place that's safe? Because they didn't get all the way into the documentary, but they did allude to the fact that there was a lot of violence in that area that they call Africa Town. But they switched it from Africa Town to Plateau and to Magazine because they had a paper mill that kicked out a lot of paper and magazines. So they showed the camera span, and they show all of these fumes and whatnot from these factories. So I'm like, yo, everywhere that I go, there's considered to be high in crime and it's off the chain and it's super gremlins out there. It's the same fucking thing. When you look at New Jersey, right? Newark, right? East Orange, the oranges and whatnot. All of the places that are gang infested. Camden, right? Next to Cherry Hill, right before Philadelphia. All factories around them. All factories around them, right? All of these things have something in common, right? They all have these carcinogenic factories around them and whatnot. And they are in the fumes and whatnot, and the toxins and whatnot, in the water. It's almost akin to when niggas was chewing lead from the paint on the fucking projects and whatnot. Niggas was having lead sandwiches because of the chip paint and whatnot. And the paint was driving niggas to become killers, right? So you could name, right, Detroit with the factories. You could name different places that have the same motherfucking setup and whatnot, where the women and the men have cancer and the children are off the motherfucking hook. And I'm not just talking about regular off the hook, like, you know, they just, you know, they just get bored and whatnot and they just outside. No, I'm talking about niggas is serial murderers. You're in Cherry Hill, right? So you know about Camden, right? And Mobile is one of the deadliest cities in the U.S. I should have had my bomb set up and I was going to bomb this bitch. You understand? So in Newark, you got the Newark Airport, you got Budweiser, you have all of these quote unquote hoods where they threw our people in these hoods, right? The same way that they do in the water in Flint and all of them other places, right? They threw our people. Damn, Gina, these niggas is out here trying to freeze the guard. I'm just talking the truth. So Patterson, New Jersey, right? In South Carolina, they raise the most pigs in the world in South Carolina. They said that there's places in South Carolina when you drive through that bitch, it smells like pure, pig feces and whatnot. And they got y'all surrounded by slaughterhouses. You feel me? They got them surrounded by slaughterhouses. So they take us out of our communities that we didn't build communities around chemical plants when our ancestors were building up their cities and their communities and their towns and whatnot. We usually were on ley lines. We usually were on places where there were trade routes and whatnot. That's where we were. That's why they put the highways through our quote unquote old hoods, because the highways are the trade routes with concrete and pavement over them, right? But we would be attached to the trade routes because we the original traders, right? We are merchants, merchant traders. We would have the routes. We have gone to war many different generations, from the Punic Wars all the way down to the quote unquote Silk Road, all the way down to what was taking place in the Americas with the confederacies and the different tribes and whatnot. They were trying to usurp our trade routes, okay? They were trying to usurp our trade routes. That's what this country is built upon. Even the slave trade had to deal with trade routes because they were 4 docks that they were taking the quote unquote imported slaves, right? And we're not talking about the prisoners of war that they were able to capture in the Americas. We're talking about the prisoners of war that they would take from Connecticut and Boston and places like New York, and then they would ship them all around to Mississippi, right? Or they would take them right across to Liverpool. They would ship them to the UK, or they would ship them to the Bahamas or the Bermudas and whatnot. So we're talking about, there were 4 major ports. There was Natchez, Mississippi. There was Chesapeake. There was Virginia. There was Charlestown, that they called Charleston, South Carolina. Charlestown. I saw the port. I saw Savannah's ports. Right? So whenever they would dock our people at these ports, they would have to route them through to the inland, right? They would need the trade routes. They would need the routes. So in the beginning, they had to get permission from certain tribes and whatnot to just travel through the route, right? The same way that now we have to have permission in order to travel through their highways and their byways and whatnot, in our conveyances and things of that nature. In order to travel, we got to go through their tolls and whatnot. In order to travel, we have to have their insurance and whatnot. Fantastic lecture last night. Thank you. I really appreciate you for being there. And we will get into it before we get off of the show tonight. We'll go over it. And for anybody asking, yes, it is still available for purchase. The replay is 7 hours. It's really 9 hours because I did 2 hours from 11 to 1. And then we got on at 8 o'clock and we wasn't out of there till 2 a.m. It's a lot of information, y'all. But anyway, and it's all visual as well. It's not just me bumping my gums. Me and Blue Pill talking. We're showing you our slides because we put in a lot of work for this. But I'm charging these weird people with a lot of different nefarious crimes. So my thing is with everybody that don't look like me, because I'm not going to hold niggas that look like me, right? Mobile is a port city, right? I'm not gonna hold niggas that look like me to the fire, right? Too tough. I'm still gonna hold people that look like me that know better. But them pale-faced people, unless you coming to me with some empirical truth and proof, I'm not fucking with you. Because they benefit off of our ignorance. They benefit off of the fact that our lights are out. They benefit off of the fact that they're hiding the motherfucking truth from us. So if you want to be my friend, or if you want to be if you even want to talk to me, you gotta come with some gifts. Straight like that. And the gifts that you gotta come with is the motherfucking truth. You gotta tell on your own people. You gotta show me where the bodies are buried. And I'm not talking about no shit that I could Google either. You got to give me some groundbreaking shit. And if you're not coming with truth, because that's the only way that you can apologize. That's the only way that you can mend what has been broken. I don't want your fiat. I don't want your women. I don't want none of your little trinkets. I don't want your contracts. I don't want your sneaker deals, nigga, because you're not going to Kanye me. I don't want your fucking, I don't want your sock deals, your underwear deals. I don't want your hat deals, my nigga. I don't want to be in your banks with you. I don't want to have nothing to do with you. I want no contracts with you whatsoever. And if you ever want to come into my circumference or into my space, the gift that you have to come with is a few dollars. Yeah, fuck that. A few dollars in the truth. Other than that, you my enemy at the end of the day, just based off how shit is going these days. Other than that, you are out. You know what I'm talking about? Because they lying to y'all, and then they throwing rocks and hiding their hands, and they giggling because niggas is so fucking stupid. They like, damn, look at what we getting away with. Look at what we getting away with. And I'm extending that to Indians. I'm extending that to Asians. If you come from a country that was not colonized, if you come from a country that was not, quote unquote, taken over by the imperialists, and you have information that goes back thousands of years, and you're not sharing information with us, fuck you. It's on and popping. You part of the problem. You see what we out here doing. Don't let nobody ever let you know that they don't know that there's a movement of black people or melanated people waking the fuck up. They out there reading our tweets, my niggas. They know about, they calling it the woke movement and whatnot. But they know that the rabbit hole goes deep. They're online the same way that you online. They could feel it. They know that we waking up. So I'm like, if you not adding on, you don't talk to me about no dead black men. I don't want to have that conversation. Don't trauma bond with me. Because it's like I said, and I showed and proved how defunct niggas are. Y'all let them white people march with y'all from 2012, right? Today is the anniversary of Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper, right? He came out in 2008 on Halloween with the white paper for a new digital economy called the quote unquote Bitcoin. It turned into the Bitcoin, right? The white paper is basically like a business plan, right? You could go online and look up the white paper right now and read that shit and see how profound this motherfucker was, right? So you mean to tell me Trayvon Martin gets killed in 2012, right? Trayvon Martin gets his life taken in 2012. They murdered Trayvon in 2012, and this is when they started the psyops, where they start putting our people in the motherfucking box of all boxes, and we've been in a sunken place ever since, right? They put us in a sunken place underneath Obama administration when niggas was so happy-go-lucky because a nigga had slick waves and whatnot in the White House, you know what I mean, with a wife who got a nice fucking shape and whatnot, right? Niggas got excited about that. But anyway, you let them weird people come around us, and they didn't even put you niggas onto Bitcoin. They didn't even put you onto the blockchain. You learned about that from us. They didn't even put you on a cryptocurrency back in the days when it really mattered. In 2012, that shit was like $20. So I've said it before. If we're gonna rally we're gonna tally up. If we're gonna rally up, we're gonna tally up. Nigga, if you see me outside with 100,000 white people around me and I'm not tapping their pockets, nigga, smack fire out of me. You know what I'm talking about? You nigga, report me to the authorities. If you see me around more than 3 white folk and I don't got my hand in each one of their pocket, you have every right to run up on me and 86 me, my nigga. Because that's all I'm a nigga. That's the only reason that they would be around the guard. Because we doing a pocket check. So you let these people come and drink your tears. You let these Luciferians come and drink your tears and feed off of your distress, feed off of your energy. Black Dot has a show on Brother Rich's channel that's almost required watching. He did it about 2 weeks ago, and he shows you and he breaks it down in with empirical proof that these people have been feasting on us, right? And it's not just these people, it's other entities of a higher principality, right? That basically feed off of the collective fear of the planet. They feed off of the distress and the turmoil of this whole planet. You dig what I'm saying? That's their gold. You know how the Anunnaki's supposed to be mining for gold? Well, the gold that these entities are feeding off of is your adrenochrome, it's your energy, it's your spirit. It's every time that you niggas put your soul in a mason jar for some Yeezys and a fucking Cuban link, right? All of these souls that people are selling in Hollywood, all of these souls that black women and men are selling online and whatnot, you know what I mean? On OnlyFans and all of these places. Everybody's soul that they're selling in Hollywood in the record industry. Every time you sign that piece of paper, these Saturnian, right? These Luciferians, right? That are tapped into Saturn, right? Thank you, Space Donkey. They're drawing all of that energy. They're drawing all of that fucking energy, all of that light. So these people came around and they fed in a trauma bond, and I will go on record to say our people are poorer today than they were in 2012. And I mean that they were richer in spirit and soul. I'm not a pocket watcher like a lot of these weird niggas are, where they just have they throw fucking ticker tape parades every time they see somebody's liquid assets dry up. That shit is corny. You know what I'm talking about? That shit is corny. Y'all don't even know what real money look like. I'm more so talking about the real wealth, your light, your chi, your motherfucking how you know what I mean? I'm talking about your spirit. We was richer in 2011. Well, we were definitely richer in the 50s. We were more wealthier in 1920. If you look at Cab Calloway performing at the Cotton Club, if you look at Marcus Garvey's lectures when he was talking to well-dressed black men and women, right, who didn't look, they pants wasn't hanging off their ass, they didn't look tattered, they didn't look hungry, they didn't look homeless, right? They had on Applejack hats. These motherfuckers was matching head to toe, 3-piece suits, my nigga, and they were bespoke. Do you know what bespoke means? They were suited and booted. So how the fuck was they in poverty? They lying to you. How was they poor? No, and they had a spirit and a light to them that you don't find. If they took a group photo of 100 niggas at a 21 Savage or a Little Uzi Vert concert, right? Or let's just say an Al Sharpton speech, okay? These niggas don't have no glow to them. They're dim. Let's not even talk about let's not talk about when the lights come on in the club. I'm gonna keep that one to myself. You know what I'm talking about? But fuck it, it's Halloween, right? The ghouls and the goblins is outside. These niggas look like gremlins when the lights come on. You know what I'm talking about? These niggas look crazy. So the way that our people was showing up, do you remember the Jet magazine? What was it, page 46, my nigga? Do you see the glow on black women before crack cocaine hit the fucking the hood like an atomic bomb? We went from page 46 on the Jet magazine to motherfucking to blacktails. Yeah, niggas look like Beetlejuice when the lights come on. I'm like, Beetlejuice is here. Beetlejuice. Edward Scissorhand looking ass niggas. You know what I'm talking about? Looking crazy in the club. God, that turn the lights back off. So, and then it'd be like, yo, and then you look around and it's a Sweet 16, and these niggas look like they 38. You like, God damn, this is a college party? I thought this shit was a 60s revival. Like, you niggas look old in the face. What's going on? What's going on, my niggas? God damn. Niggas got struggle faces at 16, 17, 18. You feel me? But then people came amongst our people and they robbed us of our essence. They robbed us of they put a lot of our people in jars and whatnot, mason jars. That's a proverbial statement, right? Because they used to chop our people's body parts up when they lynched us, and they would put it in mason jars, and then they would have it in their shrines or their altars and whatnot inside of their quote unquote houses, right? Because y'all are under the impression that pale people, or what they call white folk, or these Europeans, they don't do the same type of blood rituals and blood sacrifices, and they don't got altars. And you're woefully wrong. You don't. I don't know if you know what they be out there doing. I don't know if you realize that the Ku Klux Klan was an occultic organization. They was an occult group. They did sacrifices, blood sacrifices. They have a fucking holy book called the Holy Quran, and they are worshiping deities, and they're feeding those deities. So those barbecues and those lynches, they was the same way that a nigga could send a chicken up, a pigeon, and cut their head off. That's the same thing that they were doing with these black men and these women and these Jews that they were hanging and whatnot, and then they were desecrating the body. They were desecrating the body. So yeah, they put niggas in jars and whatnot. They put them in jars. That's a fact. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. To this day. Yeah, that part. Let me show you something real quick. There's a clip that I'm about to play. And like I said, last night was a movie. You know what I mean? Last night was a movie. Hold on. Yeah, Leatherface ritual going down in Texas. Let me tell you something. The reason why they love Rob Zombie, the reason why they love Halloween, the reason why they love Leatherface, the reason why they love Michael Myers and Jason and whatnot is because that's the shit that they've been into. Okay? They've been serial killing our people in Canada, in the Americas, on the Caribbean islands and whatnot. They've been eating the people on some Dahmer shit. This is the Halloween special, right? They've been eating our people. They've been serial killing, raping women, having them in a dungeon and whatnot. That whole dungeon mentality, or that dungeon family mentality, that stems from the plantation. And then that stems from Jim Crow and whatnot, where they would just basically snatch black babies and black children and black women off the streets and just put them in, they lock them in their dungeons and have their ways with them. And then when they began to redline the neighborhoods and those Europeans went into the suburbs and whatnot, and they finally got them into some funky ass houses and whatnot, oh man, that's when that shit really picked up. Because now they're in the boondocks, bored and shit, feeling all type of way, feeling demonic and whatnot. So they go into the big city, right? Remember, a honky is the white man that used to honk his horn to pick up prostitutes, right? Or they might pick them up and never drop them off. You know? So Oh, Hitler was an occultist? Of course. Of course. He was of the highest order. Madame Blavatsky, Vril Society, Thule Society. They was on that shit, bro. This was all sacrifices. They was feeding the entities. Whatever entities was feeding them, the technology or whatever, they were feeding those entities those human sacrifices and shit like that. And then you got a people who's playing like they were the victim, but they was really the ones that was in bed with him. But that's another story that, you know, we could talk about off of Liar Cohen's YouTube, right? Off of Liar Cohen's YouTube. We're not about to have that conversation on Liar Cohen's YouTube. You know what I'm talking about? I woke up this morning, my Instagram page was gone. I was like, they got me. It's over. And then come to find out that it was a, you know, it was a world. They was doing it everywhere. Everybody was getting their account locked out and shit like that. But that right there, that's another, you know, that, you know, they covering up something over at Instagram, because yesterday Visa was down, right? Couldn't take no money out on Visa yesterday. The whole system went down. And then today Instagram went down. So there's something going on that they're not talking about, of course, because they don't want the shareholders. Don't you see how this game is set up? If you niggas play in that stock market and whatnot with your online guru friends, you see how the news is tied into the stocks. So they can't come out with the truth because stocks will tumble. Motherfuckers get billions wiped off of the stock market whenever they put the truth out. So they always got to keep giving you these lies. They always got to keep giving you, it always has to be a cover up of what's taking place because everything is tied into the stock market. Okay. Thank you for the Cash App, whoever sent it. Everything is tied into the stock market. And I will read the names of the Cash Appers before we get out of here tonight. And I appreciate everybody that's out here supporting real media, right? Yeah, like Kanye said, red media. He keeps sending out a lot of signals. That nigga keeps sending out a lot of dog whistles. I don't know if I'm trying to hear it or not, but yeah, this is red media right here. Okay? Everybody that's out there supporting red media, not black media, red media. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Derrick Rose is woke now. A whole bunch of them is woke. They just scared to say something. You know what I'm saying? You got to trick them into talking. But Kyrie is that guy when it comes to the woke shit, man. Let's play Kyrie before we get into anything, man. This is my guy right here. And my son loves Kyrie. And my son actually put me on to Kyrie. I wasn't a big Kyrie fan, but my son used to buy all of his sneakers. Well, I bought them. And when we would play basketball together, he was, you know, he was fashioning his dribble and his moves after Kyrie and whatnot. So now that I see Kyrie, you know, standing up and standing in the spirit of Ali, not to say that he's Muhammad Ali, but there are two types of athletes in the world.
I'm not comparing Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing.
Right? There's the OJ niggas that you not black, you OJ, right? The sellouts, right? That just want to be sitting at the table and they want to be accepted by them people. And then you have those with the Muhammad Ali bloodline or the Muhammad Ali spirit, where they're willing to put the whole shit on the line for their people, and they would risk everything. Remember, until niggas is going to jail, Muhammad Ali went to jail, my niggas, in the midst of his fucking heights of his career. He went to the pokey, my niggas. He went to the big house. And that's back in the days when the big house was not like the big house right now is soft compared to the shit that was going on. Them niggas was fighting 100 round bare knuckles. So yeah, let's listen to what Kyrie has to say. And this is a 101 lesson. This is how you tactfully deal with the media. We need more media training if we're going to be on the front lines and we're expounding things, because we got to pierce through the media in order to reach our people. Remember, the media has the spell over the people. So this shit is like playing chess. If you checkmate the media, now the people have an open ear to you. It's a small window. You could reach them with your truths and red pill them. And when I say red pill them, what I mean is you give them the red pill, you wake them up. You have an opportunity to unplug them and pull them out the matrix. Sometimes they get a little wowsy, they get a little woke, and then the media puts them niggas right back to sleep. Agent Smith pops up, puts them right back to sleep. Some type of distraction comes along, puts them right back to sleep. But ultimately, we're trying our best to pull our people out of these shallow graves. That's my mission. I can't speak for everybody else. But yeah, this is how you handle them.
I'm not here to be divisive on what's going on this or that. I'm not comparing Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing white to black. I'm not doing that. That conversation is dismissive, and it constantly...
Can you hear it? And I don't know why the motherfucking picture is not playing on it. I can't tell you. Oh, there we go. You can hear it? And whatever you do, go and watch that he tweeted a documentary. He tweeted a documentary. Go and watch that documentary. Whoever made that documentary, me and Blue is gonna have a watch party about that documentary, I think. You know what I mean? And at the Royal Chamber. We're gonna have a watch party and then a panel discussion. Whoever made that documentary, they put some shit together. All right? That shit is legit.
I'm not here to be divisive on what's going on this or that. I'm not comparing Jews to blacks. I'm not comparing white to black. I'm not doing that. That conversation is dismissive, and it constantly revolves around the rhetoric of who are the chosen people of God. And I'm not here to argue over a person or a culture or religion on what they believe. No, this is what is here. It's on a public platform. Did I do anything illegal? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Did I do anything illegal? Did I hurt anybody? Did I harm anybody? Am I going out and saying that I hate one specific group of people? So out of all the judgment that people got from me posting, I just, without talking to me, and then I respect what Joe said, but there has a lot to do with the not ego or pride of how proud I am to be an African heritage, but also to be living as a free black man here in America, knowing the historical complexities for me to get here. So I'm not going to stand down on anything that I believe in. I'm only going to get stronger because I'm not alone. I have a whole army around me.
That's right. Talk that shit. Talk that shit. Now, that makes me proud. You know what I mean? They say proud is the devil. Fuck that. That makes me proud because this is an athlete that my son looks up to, right? So this shit trickles down to my progeny. It's personal now. You know what I mean? This is a man that my son looks up to. So I take this shit personal and I'm like, yo, I gotta protect this man by any motherfucking means. You know what I mean? Like low key, Kyrie is locked in with 19 keys and a whole bunch of people and whatnot. So, you know, it's not even hard to get at him or get to him and whatnot. He knows who he is and he knows who got his back. So that's the type of demonstration that we need from all of these athletes, not just Kyrie. I need to see this 100 other times, my niggas. And we don't need to argue. We don't need to yell. We don't need to tell you everything that's on our mind and whatnot. We just need to stand on our motherfucking truth like we got a pair, testicular fortitude, like we got a pair, right? Let me show you somebody else who stood on truth and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? Let me show you how else we can handle them in the debate arenas. Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. This is a clip with Dr. Ben. Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen. This is a debate, right? This is a debate where he cooked the rabbi, okay? So what's taking place is, like I said, we're having teaching moments in real time where we could now unearth a lot of these hidden gems, and the shit hits differently when the people are watching and seeing it. So would I rather y'all pay attention to this than some shit that's going on with the drill rappers? Hell yeah.
And insulting and unacceptable.
All right, Dr. Ben, what is your response?
By the way, I have to let the rabbi know I'm much as a Jew as he is. Born of a Jewish mother, a Yemenite grandmother, a Yemenite Puerto mother.
Real quick, I was building with somebody, a Yemeni today from Yemen, right? We collectively need to have more of a conversation about what Saudi Arabia went over there and did to the Yemenis or the Yemens or in Yemen. Yemen is one of the homes of the original Jew, right? It's heavily, heavily melanated. That's not what they show us. Even those of us that live in New York City, where the bodegas and the quote unquote corner stores are ran by the Yemens, right? Those are the northern Yemens. When you go into the store, ask them what the fuck is up with the southern Yemens, you know, because everywhere down south, that's where we be at. We always in the south of somewhere, right? The south of France, South Italy, you know what I mean? Wherever it's south, that's where the niggas is at. So always peep that, you know what I mean? Always remember that. But in Yemen, they look like us. And there's been a genocide taking place in Yemen in the past, quote unquote, 5 years with the quote unquote the Saudi, the royal family, the unroyal family of the Saudis and whatnot. They've been bombing the smithereens out of those people, right? It's the same thing that happened in Iraq. You had melanated people in Iraq that nobody showed on TV. You had melanated people. What city was that in Iraq where it was mad melanated people and whatnot? I think it was near Fallujah, correct? Was it Basra? Right? Heavily melanated. So when they were committing those atrocities over there and they was knocking people off, our people was like, yeah, they getting at them Arabs and whatnot. No, they was knocking our people off. They was knocking out original bloodlines. When they went and did what they did in Syria, they was knocking out original bloodlines. When they went and did what they did in Iraq, they was knocking off original bloodlines. But most definitely, what they've been doing in Yemen is they've been knocking off the original Jew or the original Hebrew, okay? In favor for these people who are quote unquote not who they say that they are. And the Saudis are doing the original because the Saudis, they have something to lose, right? Yes, the U.S. is providing the Saudis with the arms and whatnot. So the Saudis or that fake royal family that they, what is it, the Wahhabis and whatnot, they have something to lose. Israel or the Zionists, they have something to lose, right? They don't want the Ethiopian Jews over there. So there's Ethiopia and there's wars in Ethiopia. They don't want the Somalians over there. So there's wars in Somalia. They don't want the Sudanese who was reported to have 12-strand DNAs and whatnot. Original people. So there's war in the Sudan. Think about it. Think about it. Wahhabianism, right? Think about it. Okay? So Dr. Ben is telling this Ashkenazi, right, that he has a bloodline that's from Yemen, right? He was also born in St. Croix and whatnot. He's of Moorish lineage. Dr. Ben is of Moorish lineage. He actually lived in Moorish Spain for some time of his life. He's a very intricate teacher that should be explored a lot more. I would love to see a documentary on this master teacher right here. But this is a classic right here.
Insulting and unacceptable.
All right, Dr. Ben, what is your response?
By the way, I have to let the rabbi know I'm much as a Jew as he is. Born of a Jewish mother, a Yemenite grandmother, a Yemenite Puerto mother, Ethiopian Hebrew father, Beta Israel, by the way, they call us Falasha for whatever their reasons. Thus, I am as much a Jew as the rabbi or the grand rabbi in Israel, any of the grand rabbis in Israel. If the rabbi is stating here that in the book of Genesis, there is no mention of the extermination, and I use the word genocide, of the 7 tribes of the Amalekites, the Hittites, the Moabites, the Jebusites. He in his own statement stated that this is ameliorated somewhat in the book of Samuel. Everybody saw that. But the book of Samuel doesn't change the book of Genesis. And we remember that Genesis wasn't written first. It was Exodus. It's at the Council of Jamia that they decided to write Genesis. Next, since there is no Jewish race, you know, you have Indian Jews from India, from Kashim Jews, look like any Indian. You have ourselves from Ethiopia. By the way, the rabbi wouldn't forget that it says Moses married the daughter of the high priest of Ethiopia, or Cush. Being a rabbi, he will know this. Second, moreover, about the Bami.
Legend. Cooked him. Cooked his ass. You know what I'm talking about? I believe the full debate is on YouTube. Just put in Dr. Ben debates rabbi. Get into Dr. Ben. Get into his books. Get into his lectures, especially now that we have this conversation on the table and he's highly qualified to have these conversations and whatnot. Highly qualified. But let's go ahead and play this video because, you know, these are some of the things that Kanye was referring to, and these are some of the things, or Ye for that matter, and these are some of the statements and some of the this is what they're censoring us about. This is what they don't want us to show you. This is what they don't want you to know, right? How they really think about you.
אלוקים עשה אותם בשביל שיעשו פה... בשביל לשרת את היהודים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש...
Let me bring it back.
חיות! אתם פורים בהמות, כתוב אתם פורים אודום ואינם פורים אודום.
זהו, אבל הם בהמות... הגויים השם, כן? אלוקים עשה אותם בשביל שיעשו פה... בשביל לשרת את היהודים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש בעולם המיליארדים האלה,
I know it's lagging. I know it's lagging because it's the shit is heat right here. It's some fire. You know what I mean? I know it's lagging. The non-Jews are animals. Beasts, it is written. They call you the Goyim, right? So anything that they do to you is sanctioned by their holy book, because in all three books, we have the curse. We're cursed by Ham, right? Because we got melanin. Allegedly, all three books, the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran, we are considered to be animals and we're cursed. And nobody wants to have that motherfucking conversation to where we could prove that we not cursed. So there's a group of people running around saying that these niggas is animals and they curse and we chosen, we are God's people. So why would they sign an artist to help that artist shine his messianic light? No, that artist got to sell alcohol. That artist got to pop some pussy. You know what I mean? That artist has to motherfucking talk about drilling. That artist have to exemplify the stereotype and the trope of where he is in my motherfucking book. I wish I had the ball. That's why the Hollywood depicts us like this. That's why the music is depicting us like this. And then they throw the rocks and they hide their hands. They like, well, we just helping the talent out. They came and this is how they were thinking. No, niggas. We're not a monolithic people. We've been thinking all kind of shit. But Farrakhan was thinking what he wanted to think. Y'all didn't let him think freely. Ye wanted to think the way that and express himself the way that he wanted to think. I seen an article that said that the motherfucking Goodwill store is not carrying the Ye's. I made a joke about that the other day on the show, right? I was like, yo, Goodwill is not carrying Yeezys. As a joke. Like, I was really being, I was using the most extreme that I could use to make light of this shit. And then today I go on Instagram and Goodwill is like, yeah, we're not taking any Yeezy products. Nigga, when the fuck did you find good Yeezys inside of Goodwill? The only thing that they're doing is they're making the Yeezys more important on the resale market. By stores not carrying it, they make it more exclusive. By stores but say, I'm not carrying the Yeezys. Oh, well, it's going to be harder to find. Now they are collector items. If I worked at Foot Locker and Foot Locker said, we're not going to carry the Yeezys no more, and then they have a box of 100 Yeezys in the back, I'm going to give the manager at Foot Locker $5,000 in cash, and I'm going out the back door with about 50 boxes, right? I'm gonna make sure I run out that store with them Yeezys. I'm not even gonna work there no more. I'm gonna just steam the store with 50. Fuck that. I'm World Star, Boom Gang, and throw it in the trunk because I know in a few weeks or a month that the motherfucking $300 sneakers will be $13, $15, and $2,000 each. That is a fact. If y'all don't know how the resale market works, right? The media is talking to the ignorant amongst us. Those who know is like, nigga, what? Let me go and grab some Yeezys. This shit about to go up. Ain't nobody checking for no Yeezys and Goodwill, nigga. What are you talking about?
הגויים מה שאין, כן? אלוקים עשה אותם בשביל שיעשו פה...
בשביל לשרת את היהודים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש בעולם, המיליארדים האלה, הם הכל רק בשביל שהיהודים יהיה להם איזה תועלת.
עכשיו,
אנחנו לא רואים את זה.
I don't know why it's lagging like that, man.
היות ואנחנו בגלות, אז אוטומטי עדיין הם עוד לא משרתים אותנו לגמרי.
Remember, it's a Messiah conundrum that we're facing. We are the black and more Messiahs, and they will never admit that. We are looking for our Messiah, and they're looking for their Messiah. We are waiting for our Messiah, and they're waiting for their Messiah. And based off of the role that they're playing, the Messiah can never be anybody that looks like us, even though Dr. Ben explained that you could be a Jew or a Hebrew and be of any nationality. It's not only relegated to the people with the hook nose, right? It's not only relegated to them, right? But they will not accept a Messiah that is not of their cloth, right? That is not of their nationality and whatnot. And they're going to do everything in their powers to stop the rise of the Messiahs amongst us.
שהיהודים יהיה להם איזה תועלת. עכשיו, אנחנו לא רואים את זה, אנחנו לא יודעים. כל הגויים שאתה רואה שיש בעולם, המיליארדים האלה, הם הכל רק בשביל שהיהודים יהיה להם איזה תועלת. עכשיו, אנחנו לא רואים את זה, אנחנו לא יודעים בדיוק.
היות ואנחנו בגלות, אז אוטומטי עדיין הם עוד לא משרתים אותנו לגמרי, רק חלקית.
כל אחד יהיה, כשמשיח יבוא...
Trying to tweak it so I can play.
אז כל אחד יהיה לו...
יהיה לו
אלפים עבדים, 2,800 עבדים.
בינתיים, המשיח לא כאן, אז איך הם משרתים אותנו?
הם בונים לנו רכבים,
בסדר, לא יודעים.
דירות, בניינים. הם בונים את זה. למה? משרתים את היהודים.
אבל יש גם יהודים שעושים את זה.
בקושי.
I'll ask it in English. Do you believe that the Gentiles, the Goyim, will one day become the slaves of the Jews?
So I believe it's part of the Torah.
אני חושב שיהודי הוא קצת יותר, כאילו ודאי שיהיה לי עדיפות גדולה הרבה יותר לעזור ליהודי מאשר לגוי.
למה?
למה? כי יהודי הוא אח שלי.
טוב, אני לא עוד פעם להביא את המספר המדויק, על כל יהודי אמור להיות 800 או יותר עבדים.
Can we speak? Can I ask you some questions? About
what do you think?
A little bit.
No.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on the current conflict. No, everything's happening. It's all an illusion. Yeah. Wow, that guy is one of the greatest optimists I've ever seen. How you doing? Can I ask you a couple questions? Yeah.
They don't talk to you if you're not dressed up like that.
And now there's a crowd gathering because they're going to, they're saying that they're going to chase us away, and they're gathering numbers now. So there's a big flock of people that's going to chase us. Yeah, I'm not. So I'm not allowed to talk to anybody in the country. I'd say we're not very wanted around here.
If you're not dressed like that, they're not rocking with you. They're not rocking with you. All right? But you see where their minds are at, right? They hit them with the Saturn hat. Those are the ones that are worshiping Saturn, right? That's the ones that are tapped into the Saturnian energy, all black. with the rings of Saturn and whatnot. You know what I'm talking about? Running with your cloth. And I spoke about the fact that, you know, these people have come and usurped our land, right? The real estate agents are in bed with the crown of Europe, the crown and the church, right? They're all in tandem. The three centers of power, the Vatican, London, right? The Vatican by way of the Pope, right? London by way of the banking system with the Queen and the crown and whatnot. And then you have Washington, D.C. In all three of those places, these people have prominent positions. They are the ledgers, right? They do the books and whatnot. And they have their hands in every single affair of those three places or those three centers of power, right? They all play a part. They're all in bed together. Hollywood is controlled by the CIA. The hip hop industry is controlled by the CIA, right? And is policed by the FBI. That has, and the ADL is also very prominent inside of those businesses because that is the arm, that's the military arm, right? That disguises themselves, you know, as trying to help out those people, right? Are basically there to protect the business interests of these people that we're speaking of, right? That you know, the same way that the Jesuits is the military arm of the church, right? The Jesuits who used to go out and knock niggas' heads off, right? They would be the ones that put in that work. And the CIA puts in the work for the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, what they call the WASP, right? The blue bloods and whatnot. But they also have other people that they contract with, the same way that the CIA contracted with the Italian mafia during the French Connection to flood Harlem with heroin. They showed you that in the TV series Godfather of Harlem, right? The CIA got with Lucky Luciano, the mafia, the mob, the Italian mob. But the Italian mob is an arm of the Roman Catholic Church, right? North Italy, South Italy, right? The Sicilians with the Moorish blood, right? Who hate their fathers. The Sicilians with the Moorish blood who hate their fathers. The movie True Romance showed you that, right? With Christian Slater, right? And Dennis Hopper, right? They showed you that. And Christopher Walken, right? They showed you that there was a scene where he broke it down, how you can't be in the mafia, you can't be in this thing of ours if you don't have Moorish blood. Those are the descendants of the Moors who are in Italy, right, doing the damn thing with their mamas and whatnot. So you can't be a part of Almoretta if you don't have Moorish blood, or they call it Sicilian blood, True Romance, right? But they hate their fathers. And they took a vow to come to America and destroy the melanated Moors or the blacker Moors or the black man and whatnot, based off of what the Moors did to their mamas or their great-great-great-grandmothers, right? Had them in harems, right? Had them in harems, had them as concubines, you know what I mean? Basically had them on a strip, right? They were the spoils of war, exactly. So they have a nigger gripe. They had the French have a nigger gripe. The French went and took over Morocco. They went and took over Algiers, Tunisia, and Tunis. But the Moors was in France before they ran them out, right? The Moors was in France. The Moors influenced France. The Moors influenced Spain. And what did the Spaniards do? The Spain, they did the Inquisition, and then they went around the world and they conquered. They went into South America, where Horace Butler says the real Jesus Christ and that narrative comes out of. And the Crusades was in South America, not over there in that barren land that they call Israel and whatnot. The Crusades, right, was in against Montezuma in Mexico and Peru. That was their crusade. That was the crusades where they were toppling our quote unquote religious empires and whatnot. You know what I mean? And then they enslaved the melanated Moors in the Americas, and then they shipped them into Europe. That was the first slave trade, the first triangulation of the slave trade. And then we got the transatlantic that comes afterwards. But one of the first slave trades was from the Americas into Europe and whatnot. They were selling us, they brought us to Queen Elizabeth, King Ferdinand. They were selling us in Spain in the slave markets of Seville. Okay? Where did the Jesuits fit into this? The Jesuits come into it because the Jesuits were when they had the Inquisition, right? What is it, Thomas? There was a Grand Inquisitor, right? There's the Grand Inquisitor. The Jesuits were taxed, right? Okay, you see cancel culture, right? You see cancel culture. Who saw Game of Thrones, the series Game of Thrones? Who remembers Game of Thrones? I know that y'all remember the original Game of Thrones series, right? In the Game of Thrones series, there's a character called the Sparrow, right? There's a character called the Sparrow, and the Sparrow has a religious group with him, right? And this religious group began to persecute people for small infractions, right? And then ultimately, it went all the way to where they put the queen in jail, right? They became so fanatical. They became so religiously zealous that they put the fucking queen in jail, right? That's the Inquisition. They modeled that after the Inquisition, and they modeled that after the Jesuits and whatnot. So the Jesuits become the military arm of the quote unquote Vatican, and they started the Inquisition. So how did the Inquisition work in Moorish Spain? They was like, look, you can't practice Islam and you can't be a Jew. You can't practice Judaism and whatnot. You can't practice none of that shit because the Roman Catholic Church is taking over. The Pope is the Holy See. He's motherfucking God, right? So what did they do? They started mass conversions. Either you're going to become a motherfucking Catholic, either you're going to become a Roman Catholic, or we're going to chop you down. We're going to torture you. We're going to chop your head. The Inquisition is the pretense to the FBI or the feds and whatnot, or the secret police. That's the foundation of it, where they incentivize the residents that lived inside of the Iberian Peninsula, to where they was like, yo, if you hear anybody making salat, tell us. If you see something, say something. If you don't say something, when we catch this motherfucker, we also going to torture you, right? So if you go and Google the tools of torture for the Inquisition, it'll make you might throw your lunch up in your mouth. Tools of torture, Inquisition. Go and Google that shit. Matter of fact, here we go. While we're here, you know what I'm saying? You know, I don't want to be a lazy teacher. Make sure y'all hit up that Cash App though, man. Show some love. So this is the Inquisition in a nutshell. This is some shit that they should have taught us. But like I said, they not teaching us anything because they fear us waking up, because it's going to, the motherfucking show is over once we start figuring out what the fuck happened and who these people really are and who works together versus who don't work together, because they fake be acting like they don't like each other when these niggas is in bed with each other. Okay? So this is what they brought on the slave ships, right? Or this is what they used to convert our people into being Christians and whatnot. These are the tools of torture, right? These are the tools of torture. They used to put fire underneath this chair. They would put a the same way that you heat up a grill and whatnot, they would make you sit on this chair of spikes, and then they would heat that bitch up, and you would basically burn and cook while you were being impaled on this motherfucking chair with these spikes. This is how we became Catholics, my niggas. Okay? This is what they brought. This is what they were using to suppress Islam inside of Europe and whatnot. These are the tools of torture. This is what they brought into South America when they invaded South America, Central America, when they ran down on Montezuma and all of them, and they started converting everybody into the Roman Catholic faith and whatnot. These are the tools of the torture. This is what the fucking Jesuits was doing, my niggas. This is what the Jesuits was doing. God's jury, the Inquisition, and the making of the modern world. Okay? God damn it, why I don't got my bombs. Okay? They made the modern world through this quote-unquote torture campaign that lasted 700 years, right? 700 years. Like I said earlier, these are your serial killers. These are your Jeffrey Dahmers. These are the people who are eating people because this is what their ancestors was doing, right? This is what their ancestors was doing. This is what they all about. So they have black women, black children, black men in their motherfucking basements right now doing the same fucking thing. They buy some of this shit off of eBay. They buy some of this shit off of eBay, right? They have a museum dedicated in Spain. It's called the Inquisition Museum, my niggas. And they'll show you all of the torture tools. You could go to the museum. Go there on your next trip instead of going to Cancun, nigga. Go and see about these people. Go and inquire about the inquisitors. Go inquire about the fucking Jesuits, right? This is where S&M comes from. This is where BDSM comes from. This is where sadomasochism. This is where white people like to get. This is where these men like to get taught. They like to get what's that shit where they get whipped and whatnot. Right? This is where it comes from. The stuff that I gotta study in order to teach my people, bro, it has implications on my mental health. Because the shit that we gotta, the information that we gotta go through, the scenarios that we have to put in our minds and whatnot. I'm glad I'm a Scorpio, and this is my shit right here. I can navigate through the darkness, but this ain't no ordinary person could really deal with this shit crazy. So it was a war against our faith, right? It was a war against the faith. It was a war against Islam and the motherfucking Jews, because the Jews had to convert. Now you see these women in porno and whatnot. They like to get tortured and tied up like this, right? They want to be the imp. Remember the imp from Pulp Fiction when they demoralized and they emasculated Ving Rhames and bent them over, and they had a motherfucker inside of a box called an imp, and he had like a ball in his mouth, and they brought the imp out. This is what they do. This Halloween today, right? Yeah. So this is the real life Halloween shit. Fuck all of that mask and whatnot. Fuck all that stupid shit. This is what you really dealing with. This is the mentality of these people in Europe, not just when the Portuguese ran up in Brazil, and when the Portuguese ran up in Cape Verde, when the Portuguese ran up in all of the coast of Africa, yeah, they had some of this shit on their ship, right? They would torture the chief. Yo, who's the chief? All right, bring the chief over here. Then they'll torture the chief in front of the village and whatnot, right on top of the mounds and whatnot, desecrate them, behead them, disembowel them, right? And then they would ask the people who want to convert. And of course, the people was like, yeah, I'll convert. That story of Christ on the cross, they was burning people. Their stories of having our people on stakes, on crosses for miles upon miles upon miles upon miles. And they would put heads on pikes. Stop playing with me. So when you hear stories about 90% of the population in South America mysteriously dying, when you hear stories about the Indians disappearing, when you hear stories about all of these people died in there, no, they got tortured and killed. These people had a bloodlust for Moors or Black Moors or whoever was affiliated with the Moors. This shit is entertainment to some people, but this is real life to me. You understand? I take this shit serious, bro. This is real life because I feel the pain of my Moorish ancestors when I begin to dig into shit like this, and it bothers me. And it bothers me. It fucks with my spirit. You know what I mean? Because they don't have revenge. They have not got their due diligence for what it is that they went through. But by us sitting here learning, by us being, by us just learning this stuff, this is a form of reparations. This is a form of healing. Our ancestors are in our blood and whatnot. So this is helping to free them. Okay? Right? Check this out. And thank you for that 1,000 bones underneath the Vatican. Right? Because it's not just in Washington Square Park. It's not just in the catacombs in France and whatnot. It's in all of these places where they do their rituals and whatnot. It's in all of these places where they have, quote unquote, you know what I mean, where they have their centers of immorality. So thousands of bones, right? Thousands of bones discovered in a Vatican crypt, right? Thousands of bones. There's a documentary coming out on this girl right here, right? The Vatican girl. Let me pull that up real quick. There's a documentary coming out on the Vatican. I believe it's going to be on either, I don't know, was it Netflix or something? But they're about to expose the church with this story right here. But of course, you know, they be whitewashing shit and they just give you a smidgen of the horror, right? So Vatican Girl is the latest true crime documentary series to land on Netflix, exploring the unsolved disappearance of Emmanuel Orlandi. She's been missing for 39 years after she failed to return home from a flute session in Rome. Her disappearance sparked a huge media frenzy in Italy and has been brought back into the spotlight thanks to Netflix and whatnot. So after you finish watching Jeffrey Dahmer, you could check this shit out. You know what I mean? It's on Netflix right now and whatnot. But yeah, they've been kidnapping, bodying people, and doing all kind of fuckery right underneath the noses of the people forever and ever, right? And ever. So they'll throw an article about this little girl out there to kind of like, you know, take away from the fact that they got all kind of bodies underneath the Vatican. How is it the most holiest place on the planet and whatnot, allegedly? How is it they got bodies underneath the shit? This is a sovereign land too. The Vatican is sovereign. You mean to tell me that they're not burying nuns and priests inside of coffins? You mean to tell me that they're not burying them inside of coffins? They got their bones just scattered around? No, nigga. When they do rituals and whatnot, they don't put you in a coffin after a ritual. They throw you in a mass grave. They don't put you in no fucking coffin after a ritual. So those are not distinguished people that they got underneath the Vatican. Those are not distinguished people. Those are quote unquote victims, right? So in Paris, which was considered to be a form of Rome, it was the new Rome, it was a spinoff of Rome. They call it Nova Roma. Why is the same fucking thing popping up? The catacombs of Paris catacombs, right? There's an empire of death. And they got tourism to be pulling up. Niggas be, I can't wait to see the catacomb. Right? These are probably Moors that are underneath this motherfucking street and whatnot. But like I said, they call it underneath, but it's really not underneath. They just built on top of it. So imagine them committing all of these atrocities and whatnot, right? And then they build cities on top of the bones. Because they like, yo, they just build on top of it. They build their civilizations on top of your bones, right? That's the same thing that they did with the mounds and whatnot, the burial mounds, right? They got walls of skulls, right? These are Moors. I don't give a fuck what nobody tell me. That they not desecrating their people like that. These are Moors. These are the people that they conquered. Whole underworld cities with their bodies and whatnot. Happy Halloween, my niggas. Happy Halloween. Right? Let's get into this video real quick. Okay? This is dealing with the Americas. This is dealing with the Moors. This is dealing with pyramids and mounds in America, all right? Because the same thing is taking place over here that I'm showing you over there and whatnot, because they disappeared millions of our ancestors.
It's in America. Now I'm gonna show you. Now this is where all the blacks been living their whole life, but they be trying to change our culture. We've been in Mexico, Central America for years. Now this is the black population, the heavy green and stuff like that. The South is 56% black. All this green shows you where the blacks are, and these are where the pyramids are. Now, I want y'all to see where all the pyramids was, all the black cities was, all the green, mostly black populated places. Where the police doing they thing at? Now, y'all see where all the blacks is mostly populated and where the pyramids was built and everything. Don't y'all see the same things happening? I'm finna show you the Trail of Tears. Now, you guys see what a Trail of Tears is. Now, all these people had to run into Mexico. Who ran into Mexico? Slaves, enslaved Africans and black Indians. Okay, this guy right here, he's trying to say when blacks and Mexicans was trading during the Christopher Columbus time or before the Christopher Columbus time, the world is 400 billion years old. Y'all don't know when we was trading. Everything you're about to hear him say is what white people calculate us as how we did things back in the days, what time period they think we did it. They do not know nothing about this. Now tell me, what do white people know about brown people, black people, yellow people, red? Nothing, because they're only white people. We have brown, black, yellow, red bone, black bone, everything. And this will get me. When blacks mix with other races like Mexican, they make like a Polynesian looking people or Amazon looking people. You know what I'm saying? So he don't know what he talking.
There's been a viral video surging on TikTok as of late that is promoting the idea that ancient Africans were in fact the original discoverers of the Americas, or that they were in the Americas before the Spanish were, and that they were trading resources like gold and gold-tipped spears for a different kind of crops such as maize or corn that could only be found in Mesoamerica. He also goes as far as to say that many of the ancient Olmec heads actually not only depict people of Central America or Mesoamerica, but that some of them actually depict ancient Africans who were visiting the Olmec. His argument is essentially that the Olmec heads with their big lips and big noses are an obvious indication that they're meant to resemble Africans, as well as the idea that maize crops or corn from Mesoamerica could be found in Africa prior to the time of Christopher Columbus arriving in the Americas. I tried to do some research to see where he was getting this information from, but I could only find that following Columbus touching land in 1492 and establishing trade routes, Mesoamerican crops like corn, potatoes, peanuts, peppers, and tomatoes were introduced into Western Africa. Furthermore, the Olmec heads, including the big lips and noses, actually do resemble the indigenous people of the area. I suppose that prior to our ability to test DNA from these ancient sites, it's easy to see why some people could have thought that the Olmecs might have been African, and almost always the speculations are made on the artistic anthropomorphism of their beliefs and cultures, but as of 2022, the DNA evidence shows nothing other than the Olmecs being a pre-Mayan ancient Mesoamerican native civilization.
If you don't get that weak shit out of here, I don't even feed into that stupid shit because you already know what that's about. They don't have no argument. They don't have anything to stand on. And they're going to do everything in their power to uphold their belief system. Because imagine what it feels like where you were taught all of these lies by these Jesuits in the Roman Catholic Church. And that's what you built your identity around. And here comes these big lip, big nose niggas on the internet talking they shit, you know what I mean? And, you know, speaking the truth about, you know, who we really are. but because they've been conditioned and programmed to not to think that we have any form of intellect to where we could teach them, because they've been hitting us, they've been beating us and forcing us to sit in their classrooms, and they've been dumbing us down for centuries and whatnot. These motherfuckers is in their feelings whenever they have to admit that they're being taught and the truth by melanated people, because these children of the conquistadors, they've been conditioned to just see us as brutes and to see us as entertainers and niggas that dribble balls and whatnot. But that's the furthest from who we are. Okay. So, what a motherfucker time to be alive. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Every day that you are alive, the ancestors are breathing through you, and people are waking up. You know what I mean? And this shit is coming to an end. Because it's gonna fall when you wake up. That's the key. It's not gonna fall until you wake up, nigga. You ain't just gonna wake up one day, go get your fucking coffee, and the shit fell. It's not how it works. that's not how it works. It ain't gonna just. It's not gonna fall on its own. It's gonna fall when you stand up. You know what I mean? Because they built the table on your back and whatnot. So the reason why this shit is the reason why the table is even standing is because you not standing. But when you wake up, stand up, and when you stand up, it falls down. And I know that sounds it sounds easier said than done, but little do you know that's what the fuck we are doing everywhere that you turn, on your timeline, on these channels, in these streets. Even the knuckle draggers is beginning to wake up. It's a mass awakening taking place. I promise you. I promise you. I'm trying to share my keynote real quick, but I don't know. I do not. I wanted to show y'all briefly the keynotes from the lecture that we did yesterday. I can't show you the lecture, of course, but I could show you some of my notes so you get an idea about what it is that we was talking about. You know what I'm saying? You get an idea about some of the information, because Blue Pill got his own lecture and I got my own lecture. I did my own thing, he did his thing. But it was definitely one for the record books. 7 hours. We was focused. That's the best way that I could say it. Shout out to Father Rich, Black Magic 363. Always coming through in the clutch. Shout out to Black Dot and Urban X. He sent a lot of people to us, always coming through. That's the big homie right there. I'm talking about. And shout out to my KTL and shout out to the students. You know what I mean? Y'all are always coming through. Y'all are very important to what it is that we are out here doing. Very important. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna briefly run through it because we learning tonight. We in class. You know what I mean? We are in class. And it feels good. It just feels good to get this information off. So none of us have to be labeled crazy or loopy. You know what I mean? Or none of that shit they be trying to throw on us. So it's too big. Five PDF. Note 5 and not supported. Export to PDF. Give me 1 second, y'all. How's everybody doing tonight, though? Y'all all right? Everybody good? Y'all okay? I'm not going to hold y'all for too long. We'll be out of here in a minute. I just want to show some of these slides and point out some things. Did y'all see what happened in South Korea with the stampede? There's 120 people lost their life, right? Because they want to follow, you know, and I'm not being facetious, you know what I mean? I'm not pointing fingers or doing that whole blame game thing, but shit, you know, you Korean, what you doing? So they died at a Halloween party. You know what I mean? A Halloween thing, you know. So you got people around the world that are not even part of this tradition trying to mimic a demon holiday or a hell or a hell's day, a hell day. You know what I mean? This ain't the Day of the Dead. You know what I mean? This is not the Day of the Dead. They not even doing. If they doing it, they not even doing it right. This ain't even a Day of the Dead, my niggas. So you know, I just when I saw that, I'm like, yeah, that was plain right there. That was very plain. Nobody had to break that down. I saw that clearly for what it was. You feel me? Clearly for what it was. People are running around the world trying to mimic this beast and whatnot. So once again, those entities are eating. So the Luciferians and whatnot, they're now feasting off of whatever trauma the people in Korea is going through and whatnot for trying to follow these people, right? For trying to follow these people. These wicked ass people out here. Right, hold on. I'm doing 3 things at once. Talking to y'all, but I'm pulling shit up. I'm gonna give this one more shot because it's saying that the files are too big for the PDF, so it's not. It's like fighting me to open it up, but we're gonna see what we can do. But yeah, that's my thing, man. If these people who we put so much trust in, these other nationalities, if they not coming to bring the truth to me, I don't want your tears. I don't want you to put Black Lives Matter on your lawn. I don't want you to say, hey man, I got black friends and what. I don't want none of that fake shit. You feel me? Because I see how they doing the God. I see how they doing yay and whatnot. I see how they move. So now it's time to adjust how I move. And I'm not being a reactionary, but I would be a motherfucking fool. I would be a buck dancing slave if I was to carry on my relationships with people outside of the culture after I seen how they handled this nigga for speaking the truth. Not gonna do it. You know what I mean? Not gonna do it. You know, not gonna do it. I'm not fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? They can kiss my ass. You know, not gonna do it. Because they'll do it to any. If they did it to him, how do you think that you safe? That's my thing. That'd be my thing. Like, if y'all see what they doing to this man, and he's one of their lapdogs. He plays. He was playing nice with them for years and whatnot. He's one of their, you know, he's like one of their homies in a sense. So if you see how they handling this nigga, what the fuck make you think that they not gonna handle you all kind of ways? Like you're not even on his. They don't consider you to be nowhere near his level status wise. And niggas is out here like enjoying that shit, but whatever. So yeah, I couldn't upload the PDF. Professor Griffin, whatnot, but more of our people. I love the site that when I. This is a clip right here that I need y'all to go and do your research on. this is dealing with, remember, because when Ye said the Jews, he's not being specific. And I think that that was maybe where he may have went wrong. You got to call out a specific sect. You got to call out, because that's like somebody saying the blacks, right? No, you niggas right there. Yeah, that your crew, your group. Like, that's like when they give niggas a RICO charge, they're not just saying all of hip hop or all of Atlanta. They said YSL. So you got to identify who exactly amongst that group that are doing the blood sacrifices, all of this demonic shit in Hollywood and whatnot. Who is it? What's their names? So I want y'all, this is your homework, to go ahead and dig deeper and find out about this organization or this group right here. I saw all of our people strapped up marching to Stone Mountain. That was a sight to behold. I would love to see something like that again. So let's get into this group of people that are called the Sabbatean sect of Jacob Frank, right? We're gonna learn who Jacob Frank is, and we're gonna learn about this sect and whatnot, so we can have a greater understanding about who it is that we're dealing with, right? Outside of the polished image or the filter that they appear in, right? Outside of that, we're gonna get to the real shit, what they really into. Okay. Surely some concepts delivered by Judaism hits Jews back like a boomerang. God, the atom bomb, summer vacation, just to name a few, and also the sociological concept of the excommunication. Such sanctions weren't invented by the BDS movement, who simply adopted an old Jewish concept and used it against the Jews. The origin of the excommunication practice dates back to the Middle Ages, even to biblical times. It was mostly in use during the bitter war between the Hasidim and its opposers since the 18th century into the 19th century. That period saw cruel conflicts that's been splitting the Jewish society for a whole century. Bans were published on renting houses, hiring, or even talking to someone who was suspected to support Hasidism. The Goyen of Vilna, one of the greatest Jewish spiritual leaders ever, did not hesitate to incite against Hasidism and to encourage violent acts against them. When we talk about the music industry, I want to talk about their unhumble beginnings and whatnot, because the beginnings of these movie studios, right? Like I said, I'm just breezing through. This is not me showing the lecture. The lecture is 7 hours. So I'm breezing through some of the clips so you can see what the conversation was about last night. But for full context, you're going to have to get the lecture. Right? Will point to the foundation in which they stand on, right? So Hollywood at the most, there was, hold on, because I don't want to keep, I don't want to forget this, so I don't want to have to bring this up. A very instrumental year in history, and it gets overlooked sometimes. The year that I'm speaking about is 1915. This year was very, very monumental. And especially when I began doing the research for this lecture, I kept coming across 1915. 1915, the year that the Federal Reserve, right? Well, 1913 and 1915. 1915, the year that they erected the feds, right? Now, remember, these people that we're talking about, the money changers, they suddenly, after the Federal Reserve was created, they become the masters of the universe through banking. Prior to that, that's not what they were known for. But when the Federal Reserve is created, right, and they take away the central bank and whatnot, and they go on Jekyll's Island in 1913, no, in 1910, right? They go to Jekyll's Island, and JP Morgan, the same bank that dropped Ye, JP Morgan, and a few other quote unquote robber barons, right? They create what is known as the Federal Reserve. Prior to that, the Titanic gets sunken with all of JP Morgan's ops on it, right? The people who were the bankers and things of that nature, the Titanic gets sunk and they go down with it. They form what is known, on Jekyll's Island in Georgia, they form what is known as the Federal Reserve, right? The Rothschilds are behind this as well. So in the Federal Reserve, then you begin to see these people, right? Because remember, when we're talking about the money changers, somebody mentioned the fact that our people are controlled or put into slavery through the contract. Who drew up the contract? Who's the master of the contract? Who's the master of the ledger? Who fights with their pen, right? They're destroying Ye in the media, right? Through the pen. They're destroying him through the pen. He's exposing their contracts. He's explaining that their sorcery is in the pen. They lock you in with the contract, right? They lock you in with these legalese, with these words that you think you know what they're saying, but they're saying something completely different if you don't know the etymology of it. Who is the bankers, right? Who is control of the fiat? Who is in control of the insurance? Who is in control of the bonds? Who is in control of the securities? Who was the one who was writing all of the ledgers during slavery, right? It's not the quote-unquote white Anglo-Saxon Protestant that they affectionately call the WASP, which would be like the blue blood and whatnot. These are the Russians and these were the Germans, okay? And then they became the Polacks. So we're talking about a group of people who, and then there's this clip, and I played last for context purposes. I'm gonna play it again, where Professor Smalls broke down, right? And he said, wait a minute. He said Malcolm X's sister, called Ella, right? Ella, I believe it was Ella Little, right? She said that our people were basically that the European, the WASP, the blue bloods and whatnot, they basically sold the rights of the people over to you know who, right? And she said that they did that in the year of quote unquote 1913. That was when we were sold to a group of people who miraculously began to, almost overnight. This is a group of people that went from living in tenements, right? And what is known the original ghettos, right? You can see it in the movie Gangs of New York, right? The original ghettos were inhabited by the same people who came over from Europe, right? Who were not high society. They were not considered high society. So back in those days, high society were considered to be the WASPs, right? This is before the invention of the quote unquote, this is before they perfected the white, the illusion of white, or what we call the social construct, right, of white, right? Because that's really a fucking idea. It's not real. There's no such people on the planet named white. There's no such nation of white people. That's a concept that we all agree to. The same way, you know what I mean? There's no wait for it. There's no black, right? There's no such thing as black when it all boils down to it. And yes, I'm talking about nationality right now. We know when we smoking some motherfucking Obama runts, my nigga, and we sipping on some Douce, niggas is black, right? We shooting some craps and whatnot. Yeah, nigga, my nigga. Yeah, we black then. But what I'm speaking about is the fact that that shit is a misnomer, right? And it's not real. Okay? It's a misnomer and it's not real. And niggas is not crayons, right? So the blue blood of the European, they granted citizenship, or they absorbed the people from Poland. You know who I'm talking about, right? Small hats. They absorbed them into their society, right? To do their biddings, okay? And they made them white. The same way that they made, who else did they make white? They made them white. They made the Italians white. And they made the people from the Irish, right? Gangs of New York, Martin Scorsese, right? And it was done. It was whatchamacallit, your man, what's his name? Harvey Weinstein, right? Harvey Weinstein was the producer, and Martin Scorsese, he was the director. Gangs of New York explores that. It shows you how they became white. You know what I mean? And I ain't talking about Charleston white. I'm talking about white folk. They got absorbed into white society, right? That they, when they came to America, they were not white. They couldn't sit at the table with those people. They were niggas with orange hair. That's what they called the Irish. Niggas with orange hair, and the Italians was niggas with slick hair. If you see some of the footage of the original Italians, they or olive complexion. Going back to what I was saying about them having Moorish blood and whatnot. The before they got amalgamated and they lightened up, because you could do that in one generation. Look at Drake's son, his son Adonis, right? Look how fast he's considered. He's you know, have Ashkenazi. His mother's is Ashkenazi and his father's from Memphis and whatnot. He's amalgamated. He's an Obama, right? He's amalgamated. Look how fast it took him to whiten up his seed and whatnot. So his seed, right, Adonis, looks like a straight pale European. So that's exactly how they were able to light up over 1 and 2 generations. It didn't take them long. It didn't take them long. So this is Professor Smalls breaking it down, where Malcolm X's sister, Ella Collins, right, who was also, right, Malcolm was on the front lines doing his thing, but his sister Ella, she was also a teacher. She was also a scholar, right? She also was busting her gun, okay? People don't talk about Ella, but Ella was in there. Ella was doing it, okay? Ella was doing her thing. So remember the year that I said, 1913. Listen to what Professor James Small, the master teacher, says.
Ella Collins, the sister of Malcolm X,
and remember,
teaches Sister Ella.
For context purposes, Professor James Smalls is a contributor to the Godfather of Harlem because he was the security, he was personal security to Malcolm X when he left the Nation of Islam. Professor James Smalls was about that life when he was in the streets back in the days. He's a scholar, but he was also ex-military, and he was the muscle. So Malcolm X had him as security. He's seen a lot of things, heard a lot of things, knows a lot of things, and he's talking about Malcolm's sister Ella right here. So this is not hearsay.
Teaches Sister Ella Collins, the sister of Malcolm X, used to tell us that the Jews bought us in 1913 from the WASP. And I remember I used to find that so difficult to believe. I mean, how could they buy us from these other folks? After all, the Emancipation Proclamation was in 1865, and we was free. But she kept telling us, no, in 1913 the Jews bought us, bought the rights to us from the WASP. Dr. Jeffries had put all of it together in one package at one time. And I think they became afraid that their hands as the owners of black people would be exposed, and that the black people might react against being owned unknowingly by the...
Now, when I saw that, it blew my mind away because all kind of shit started coming to me, right? So I was like, damn, that shit could be true because, like I said, these are your judges. These are your clerks. These are the people in the hospitals. They're delivering your children. They're the teachers. They're teaching your babies, right? They're the judges and they're the lawyers and they're the prosecution. So they're either getting you out of jail, they're putting you in jail, and the judge is deciding your fate, right? The Irish become the policemen and the firemen, right? So they're the ones that round up the slaves, and they become the slave catchers, and they bring you in. But the people who are the ledgers, the people who control the records and whatnot, the people who control the slaves, the people who control the bodies, the people who take away nationality, the people who take away birthrights, that's them. They're the ledgers. They're on Wall Street. They're the brokers. They're the financial advisor. They're the bankers. Now they're in the music industry. They were running Hollywood. So they were able to depict our image around the world. Talk black to me. They're real estate, right? They decide who gets housed. They came up with the redlining. So they created whole neighborhoods. They ran highways through our cities and our towns and whatnot. That's them. How the fuck did they come from living in tenements and doing what they... I mean, I'm Dr. Joseph going on. Goebbels, the Third Reich's Minister for Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, couldn't have written a better script to convince the world that black people are less than human. Goebbels was one of Hitler's closest associates. There's no reliable or collaborating evidence that Goebbels died on May 1st, 1945 in Hitler's bunker. A body alleged by the clandestine SS body has been said to be Goebbels' body, was burned beyond recognition and buried in a secret gravesite that remains hidden. At the fall of Berlin at the end of World War II, the SS was secreting bodies of concentration camp victims into Berlin to fake the deaths of high-ranking Nazis wanted for war crimes. A charred skull long claimed to have been Hitler, recovered from the Berlin bunker, recently has been proven by DNA to belong to a female. Hitler, Himmler, and Goebbels were top of the list of the most wanted Nazi war criminals. The little evil genius Goebbels built the Nazi party by propaganda. He built the machinery of thought control. He limited and shaped all forms of artistic and intellectual expression to conform to the ideals of National Socialism, Aryan supremacy, and the Superman, the subhuman species, right? Goebbels' Nazi propaganda machine, by force, deception, and deceit, controlled press, magazines, and the entertainment industry through censorship and removal of Jewish and non-Nazi editors. Same thing that they doing today. Same thing that they doing today. The establishment of government-sponsored. So keep in mind, these same people who were doing what they were doing over there, right? When the war was over, they came over here, Operation Paperclip, and they start putting them strategically in position, right, to maintain these niggas on this continent right here, to maintain the lie, to keep the quote unquote lie going about what this land was, who these people on this land is, and to quote unquote, you know, and to extract all of the wealth from us, all of the energy, the sweat equity, right? And to push this propaganda about who these people are versus who they're not. They've been lying to us ever since then, bro. So I only have respect to people that are going to wake us up at the end of the day. Now, going back to what I was saying about 1915, 1913, this trial right here was the OJ trial of the 1900s. This trial right here was the OJ trial of the early 1900s. This was the biggest trial in America for a very long time. Ask your grandparents about Leo Frank. Leo Frank is of utmost importance, right? He is of utmost importance to the whole thing because Leo Frank got lynched, right, for killing a young Gentile, or what they call a wasp, right? Leo Frank was convicted of quote unquote murdering her, right? They said that a black man did it. Leo Frank, this was in Atlanta. Out of all places, this was in Atlanta, right? And Leo Frank went all the way to the Supreme Court, right? And they sentenced him to death at first, right? And then when he went to the Supreme Court overturned his conviction. When the people in Atlanta heard that, right? Because this was getting nationwide coverage, they gathered a group of lawyers, ex-judges, policemen, sheriffs, and other prominent businessmen in Atlanta. They bum rushed to jail. They drove him to Marietta, and then they hung him. They lynched him, right? Not only did they lynch him, but they made his quote-unquote lynching postcards, right? There's a book called Without Sanctuary where you'll see their barbaric ways, how they used to make postcards out of the lynchings and shit like that, right? So they did that to this Jew right here. Leo Frank, before he got arrested, was the chapter president of B'nai B'rith, right? B'nai, I might be pronouncing it wrong, but B'nai B'rith, right? As a result of his lynching, the ADL, the American, what is that? American Defense League, or the ADL, right? The Jewish ADL was formed as a result of his lynching, right? But not only was the ADL formed as a result of his lynching, the KKK was also formed. The vigilante group that took this man out of his jail cell and lynched him were called the Knights of Mary Flagden, her, the white girl. They basically, the Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, the same people who are weaponized with this anti-Semitism title. They'll go after everybody. They'll shut down the ADL, the same people who shut Kanye down, Michael Jackson down, shut Prince down, Whitney Houston, Sinead O'Connor. The list goes on of all of the people that they've thrown underneath the bus with this title and with this label and whatnot, and basically extracted, Tupac Shakur, Eazy-E, right? The JDL and the ADL. The JDL would be the quote-unquote defense aspect of the Jewish Defense League. They would almost be like the Jesuits would be for the Roman Catholic Church. That's their strong arm. That's the people that put in that twerk and whatnot. Those are Mossad agents. Those are the people that put the bombs under the car. They suiciding niggas. They're knocking people off, right? So when they formed the ADL, right, as a result of his lynching, and keep in mind, a black man was in the middle of all of this. So they had a nigga gripe because they was like the baboon, the savage black man who can't control his sexual urges and whatnot. He killed this young girl. It wasn't our guy, right? Because this man he owned the pencil factory, right? The black man was the janitor there. This man right here owned the factory. But of course, in 1913, in the Deep South, he was a nigga with a hook nose, right? He was a nigga with a hook nose. I shared on this program before, and you could look it up, that they created Christopher Columbus Day in America. I'm going to pull that shit up real quick because I'm jumping all over the place. But this is something that you got to see so you know that I'm not just reaching, right? Christopher Columbus Day was created because they lynched 19 Italians. They lynched 19 Italians in Louisiana, out of all places. Remember, they were working on the railroads and shit like that. Shit like that, right? And they lynched these motherfuckers early in the 1900s. And Italy was so pissed off, they was about to go to war with America, right? Based off of that, they was ready to go to, they were ready to bust their gun. They was like, yo, you done lynched our folks, right? So let me show you that real quick. Let me show you that real quick. All right. So you could teach somebody this shit one day, right? The lynching that gave us Columbus Day. Come on now. Can you see that? The lynching that gave us Columbus. You would think that they was practicing Columbus Day since America was formed. You would think that they was practicing Columbus Day from day one. No, that shit came in the 1900s. Columbus Day began with a mob killing of 11 Italian Americans. So that's just to show you how wicked these people are, right? That just goes to show you how wicked these folks is, bro. Their holidays are born in blood, right? Their holidays are born in sacrifice. Their holidays are born in blood, in lynchings, right? These motherfuckers lynched Italians and then gave Italians a false holiday about a motherfucker who came over here lynching niggas. Come on, where's the bombs at? I'm gonna need my editors. You niggas need to slip in some bombs and whatnot, because I'm cooking right now. I don't even hear what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, in Mark Twain's The Tragedy of Pudd'nhead Wilson, published in 1894, a telegram from the fictional town of Dawson's Landing is printed in a newspaper in St. Louis. It reads, Judge Driscoll, an old and respected citizen, was assassinated here about midnight by a profligate Italian nobleman or barber on account of a quarrel growing out of the recent election. The assassin will probably be lynched. Hatred for the Italians in the United States was such that Twain could blithely predict the extrajudicial killing of an Italian accused of murder as the outcome more likely than a trial by jury. Twain was not being provocative. He was inspired by true events. On March the 14th, 1891, 11 Italians were lynched in New Orleans. It was the largest mass lynching in the American South. It took place the day after 9 of the men had been acquitted in a trial of the murder of the New Orleans police chief, David Hennessy. 2 of the lynching victims were not on trial for any crime. Newspapers, after the deed, reported with delight that a wild mob numbered by the thousands avenged the murder of Chief Hennessy, and informing the public that the wretched Sicilian band had been butchered. The men were not a band of anything. They were working class immigrants. They were employed as dock workers, cobblers, fruit vendors, and tinsmiths. One was a laborer on a plantation. They were ordinary immigrants who had arrived in the United States to build a better life for themselves and their families, right? So let's get to where they created fucking Columbus Day. Okay? But you could Google this shit and get all of the details that you need, right? So, Italy had to respond. Their patience for the lawless nature of American society had run out. Italy, on his recommendation, demanded that the U.S. arrest and prosecute the mob leaders and provide compensation to the victims' families. The administration of Benjamin Harrison refused. This was a domestic matter and had nothing to do with Italy, the White House explained. The Italian government withdrew its ambassador to Washington, D.C. in protest the U.S. then withdrew its diplomatic representatives in Rome. Getting the Holy Spirit. Hold on. Harrison, however, was troubled by the incident. He wanted to be remembered for rehabilitating U.S. foreign policy, especially after both the Mexican-American and Civil Wars had tarnished American prestige in the world. The United States was seen as the aggressor invading a neighbor. It was held in contempt, a nation of untamed people who had engaged in fratricide over slavery. Harrison was a man noted for his personal integrity and sense of decency, considering this was a time of scandal and the unscrupulous robber barons and corrupt politicians. He knew that the lynching in New Orleans was morally wrong. He knew Italians faced bigotry and institutionalized discrimination. He knew they faced mob violence throughout the land. He wanted to make things right and in the process show the world a different side of America. He settled on two courses of action. First, he agreed to pay each family of the lynched Italian $25,000, right? Same way that they gave George Floyd's family money, Sean Bell's family money, all of our lynching victims. They get paid off in order to quell the uprisings, right? So in 1891, 25 racks was a substantial sum. That was a bag, my niggas. You know what I mean? The same way that Trayvon Martin parents got a bag in 2012. And when they talk about it in 2050, they'll be like, yeah, they paid him $4 million. And there'll be a nigga like 10 years old that got $4 million from playing video games. And he gonna be like, damn, they only gave him $4 million? As an American president, for the first time, would affirm officially the rightful place of Italians in the fabric of American life, turning a new page in how Protestant America saw Catholic immigrants. Remember, WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You know that the Protestants and the Catholics got drama, right? So the Italians wasn't even considered to be white, let alone Americans back then. So whenever they try to pop their greasy ass collar and talk out the side of their fucking neck, you got to remind these motherfuckers about who they are and who they were and who they'll always be. They're a protected class. Okay? They're a protected class. No longer, he wanted to make clear, could the racist editors of the New York Times approve of the lynching of anyone anywhere in the United States without rebuke? How could the second objective be accomplished? He realized nothing would affirm the place of Italians better than a presidential proclamation to honor a prominent Italian whose contributions were unquestioned. But who would that be? His staff compiled a list of notable Italians: Dante, Michelangelo, Christopher Columbus, Galileo, Marco Polo, Leonardo da Vinci, Amerigo Vespucci, among other luminaries. Harrison decided on Christopher Columbus. Why Columbus? Look at the calendar. The year was 1892. That marked the 400th anniversary of Columbus landing in the islands that today comprise the Bahamas. Hold on. Fuck is you talking about? Why didn't we learn this in school? Niggas paid a lot of tuition and whatnot to go to these motherfucking schools, but why didn't they teach you that part? I'm wondering. I know why. I want you to think about it. Okay? So, blacks and Jews and whatnot, it will explain to you how these Europeans. So, Hollywood in 1915 put out Birth of a Nation. We know who took control of Hollywood. So based off of the nigger gripe that they had, because I like I said before, this was the O.J. Simpson case of these days. They did not forgive the black people. Not to say that they hated us and we were Goyim before that, but they made an extra purpose to show us as savages and brutes, sexual deviants in movies all up and down Hollywood after this situation happened, right? To the point to when they put out the movie Birth of a Nation and the KKK rose up on Stone Mountain, right? Because like I said, they killed him in Marietta, right? They lynched him in Marietta, and 3 or 4 months later on Thanksgiving, they went up Stone Mountain. They climbed the same mountain that we climbed, and on the apex of the mountain, they formed the KKK, or the second rising of the KKK. There's 3 or 4 iterations of them. This was the second iteration of them. And who wound up getting lynched? Who wound up getting, who wound up getting quote unquote terrorized? Our people, okay? Our people, not the Jews, our people. And then they went to bed. They laid down in Hollywood and they destroyed our image, right? They didn't give us movies about how we were the creators of the traffic light. They didn't give us movies about Black Wall Street. They didn't give us movies about how we were better businessmen than all of these people put together. They didn't give us movies about how our people was cleaning in a fucking whistle, like in the 20s, Cab Calloway and whatnot, Cotton Club type shit. No, they gave us Step and Fetch It. You know what I mean? They gave us Mantan Moorland. You know what I'm talking about? They gave us Birth of a Nation. They gave us all of these mammies and whatnot from fucking Going with the Wind. They gave us all of that shit. They gave us people in blackface. Europeans were definitely in bed, okay? They were definitely in bed with the Europeans, right? They would definitely had their hands in the slave trade, and these are considered to be the people who are the record keepers. They hold the ledgers, right? What does that mean? What that means is they are the ones who control the contracts, right? So in so many ways, they are responsible for taking your nationality, turning you into a color, and a whole bunch of other things. So it wouldn't be far-fetched if they were handed by the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant who had, who probably didn't know what to do with the people and whatnot. Ownership is the same thing like I was saying before. If you think about it in the context of the plantation, these would be the overseers, right? But these overseers somehow, in so many ways, the plantation could go ahead and make a sale of their slaves, of their property to a whole nother group of people. But I'm gonna play this real quick. Hold on, let me take this background off. This is, I wound up playing a video that I played, Professor James Smalls and whatnot, and to step away the same way that artists of today have been propositioned to stay away from conscious thought leaders and things of that nature, or they will, the FBI will either throw a RICO on you, dig up some charges on you based off of the surveillance. They have your phones tapped. They've been watching people, just building up folders and dossiers. And if you don't go along with what it is that they're saying, you'll miraculously get a case thrown on you. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, that there is a Messiah conflict taking place. There is a quote unquote conflict of interest that has to be addressed. And I'm sure Blue Pillar, AKA Pope Pablo, will be able to touch on this in his segment. But I just want y'all to really think about that. It is not in their interest to highlight the messiahs amongst you. Their intelligence agencies do everything in their power to watch the messiahs amongst us, the artists that are affiliated with the messiahs, the athletes that are financially supporting the messiahs. You know what I mean? Like everything is being surveilled and watched because they will do everything in their powers to prevent the rise of the Black Messiah. They would do everything in their powers, okay? So there was an investigation that said that Eazy-E, right, and also Tupac Shakur were being threatened by the ADL, okay? A 122-page file recently released by the FBI suggests the West Coast rappers Tupac Shakur and Eazy-E were threatened and extorted by a group considered a domestic terrorist organization by federal authorities. In the file, FBI agents described an extortion scheme purported against the late hip-hop legends in which they would receive death threats via an anonymous telephone caller, at which point the Jewish Defense League, which is described by the FBI as a violent right-wing terrorist group, would step in and offer protection for money. All right. So if the look how, let's just make sense of this. If the FBI said that the Jewish Defense League, right, is a terroristic violent organization, and people like Kanye and other people are like, yo, there's these Jews out here trying to kill us in Hollywood and other places, and they're like, oh, you're anti-Semitic, you can't say that, you're not allowed to say that, but you motherfuckers got a whole organization. This ain't a gang, my nigga. This a whole organization with a sign on the door. Like, you could Google this shit, the JDL. You know what I mean? They were working with Jerry Heller when Dr. Dre and them and Suge Knight was beefing with Eazy-E. They were protecting them. They showed it in the movie briefly, NWA movie, right? These are the hitters. You understand? These are Mossad agents. These are hitters. They will whack you, my nigga. Whack 100. Okay? So they was following Biggie. They was giving death threats to Tupac. You know what I mean? They were, you know, it's all kind of shit taking place. And I could keep going, but we're at the 3-hour mark, family. I could keep going, but we're at the 3-hour mark. And I don't want to make these videos too long because, you know, people be having shit that they got to do with their life and whatnot. I think I've shared enough information for the day to fulfill a plate of food and whatnot to keep the family well nourished with the information. The lecture that I was just showing y'all, I'm going to just go back to it. We had more than 100 people. We had over 100, maybe 150 people bought tickets yesterday for this. And, you know, it's still selling to this day right now. And it's available, like I said, it's 7 hours. It's me and Blue Pill. It's 7+ hours. We delivered like we said that we was. And we came with some great information. And it's available on KTLUniversity.com for your viewership. For anybody that wants to view it, just go ahead, and once you click on it, you'll get access to the replay. It's already up. And I put my 250+ page PDF study guide in there as well. So you could tap in and you could go ahead and pause the video, read the PDF, do more research, get your motherfucking research on. This is for the students. This ain't for nobody that's coming around just want to see what I'm wearing today and all of that stupid shit. This is for the students. This is for the people that's really in this shit to edify and to learn something. Not the know-it-alls, motherfuckers to be, I already know that and all. No, this is for the students that want to remind themselves of shit that you probably heard years ago or whatever, but it makes sense now. It's relevant now. So sometimes you got to pick up the book and read it again, even though if you read it 4 times. But that's what we doing. You feel me? I'm sharing with the people. You know, I remember saying that if I didn't get 100 people, that I wasn't even gonna do this motherfucking show tonight. You know what I'm saying? Because it's about respect and appreciation. Because if we out here feeding y'all, you know, all we ask you to do is to show up. It's not asking much. You know what I'm talking about? That's not asking much. Can you do a reaction video? Of course. Of course. Of course. But I feel good. You know, it's a wonderful time that we live in. We in Scorpio season, so this is my time. My born day is coming up, November 14th. And I'm thinking about doing a lecture because that's all I could do is teach. You know what I mean? I could teach and I could make art. You know what I'm saying? and just be a good father. I'm not trying to stretch myself and do too much. You know what I mean? I just want to teach. I just want to be a creator and create and just raise these babies. You know what I mean? I'm not asking for much. You know, that's what I asked my ancestors to prepare and to allow me to do. So that's what it is. But with that being said, you know, I'm about to get up out of here, hit the Cash App, leave a tip, you know what I mean? With a word, you know, give me some good words in the description and whatnot. You know, give me some words of enlightenment, you know what I mean? And we always need that, you know what I'm saying? Because it's very important. You know, it's not even for the ego, it's for the mind. And we'll be back third eye. No, matter of fact, we'll be back on Wednesday. I have a special guest that I'm going to be bringing, and this brother he's been on Know the Ledge Radio. God damn it, he goes all the way back to KTL Radio and whatnot. This is a legend. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for the flyer, but yeah, he'll be pulling up on Wednesday. My good brother, my Moorish brother, you know what I'm saying? My OG, as a matter of fact, you know. I don't know why it's not allowing me to, hold on, give me 1 minute, let me see something. Dynamic. My good brother Sharif Bey gonna be joining us, and he got a presentation that is fire. You know what I'm saying? It's fire. You know, he's gonna be talking that talk. And if anybody's familiar with the good brother, you already know that he cooks. You know what I'm saying? He cooks. You know, he's a brother that helped bring the Moors back to life when they was getting beat up in Harlem back in the days. He defended the throne, you know what I'm saying? And washed up Dr. Reggie, put him in a box. You know what I'm saying? That's Harlem history for those of y'all that wasn't there. You know, but he's gonna be with us on Wednesday. I'm looking for the flyer. I'm just pulling up the flyer so we can see what this brother's gonna be bringing to the table. Give me 1 second. But yeah, it was definitely nice tonight. I appreciate y'all energy, because it be your energy that allows me to teach, you know what I'm saying, and to tap in and whatnot. I'm drawing off of the energy the same way that you're drawing off of. It's a reciprocal situation taking place. So I want to say thank y'all for your energy. You know, this is the class that we got coming up: Moorish Magical Machines, Old World Tech, and Present Black Budget Projects. My good brother Sharif Bey. That will be on Wednesday. We're bringing back KTL Radio. On Wednesdays, we bring special guests in, master teachers and whatnot. We was doing that before, but we're gonna bring that back. Might even have Blue Pill with me in the building and whatnot. But yeah, make sure, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you become a subscriber. We have 45,000. That's cute and everything, but I want to hit 100,000 before my birthday. You know what I mean? That's one of my that's on my goal list and whatnot. I want to hit 100K, and then we're gonna head to the 500K by next year. But yeah, man, this is a grand sheet. You know what I'm saying? The brother is certified. He's stamped. You know what I mean? He's a legend and whatnot. And I'm definitely honored to have him on the show. So we'll see you on Wednesday. With that being said, we out of here. Facts.
Facts. Facts.
Collins.
Facts.
It's a movie. Facts. 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 Okay.
tilling the land, focus on the eco. Open my heart, let go of the ego. Ran out the grand, I'm stacking up these C-notes. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. Found out the hacks, put it in the rap. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts,
and that's facts though, I talk factos. Ask J Babe, I go Astro. Floating focused on my cash flow. We plant star seeds to make the grass grow. I'm a real floater, I do what I wanna. Stacking the winter, sunbathing the summer. My chakras align and I shock them like Blanco. Only Pope we acknowledge a nigga is Pablo.
At these events, I'm a god to my people. Got out the streets, yeah, we dodging a Rico. Game of roulette, I'm a casino. The game wasn't fair, yeah, the odds wasn't equal. Squad got the Chico, my squad got the Chico. Game in a drought, yeah, they starving the people. Blaming and doubt, make it harder to eat, yo. Not a placebo, this not a placebo.
The food, the art, the clothes. We put this show on the road. The Vatican getting exposed. You better stay on your toes. Repo, tilling the land, focus on the eco. Open my heart, let go of the ego. Ran out the grand, I'm stacking up these C-notes. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. Found out the hacks, put it in the rap. Facts, facts. Fuck it, we gon' put this shit on our back. Facts, facts. We in your city, pull up where we at. Facts, facts.
Started in Richmond, art of my district. Heart of the mystics, started for biscuits. Father to Isfits, martyr to misfits. God is my witness, God on my hit list. Moving the weight, we started with fitness. Moving with states, we art of the richest. Give me the blues, my heart is in Memphis. It's part of adventure, started my venture. The F is for food, the A is for art. The C is for clothes, I'm playing my part. T is for tech, I'm playing it smart. S is for showtime, stay in the park. Acres on acres, get lost in the dark. We playing a part, we playing it smart. Facts, facts,
okay.
Yeah.
The food, the art, the clothes. We put this show on the road. The Vatican getting exposed.